हमने पहले भी बात की कि जब आप बात करते हैं हिस्ट्री राइटिंग की, तो बायस बहुत सारे लोग हैं, बस इसका मतलब कभी भी ये नहीं होता कि हम उनके आइडियाज़ को इग्नोर कर देंगे। द मोमेंट इट्स अबाउट लाइक महात्मा गांधी. Now, how Gandhi becomes the Gandhi? Undoubtedly, there was a great number of followers of Gandhi, and in fact, that was majorly constituted by whom? The peasants and the workers. You don't need to read so many things. What you need to do, you have to attend the classes very religiously. ठीक है, आप सिर्फ इतना कर लीजिए, and then I can promise to you that 90-95% questions which are coming in the examination, they could be answered very much from the classes. अब हम कई बार न्यूटन को लेके कई बार हम मजाक उड़ाते हैं, ठीक है, जबकि लेकिन आप एक बात सोच के देखें कि जब न्यूटन ने सेब को गिरते हुए देखा था, तो न्यूटन के दिमाग में एक जवाब ये भी आ सकता था कि ठीक है यार, भगवान की मर्जी है ये नीचे गिर गया। अगर भगवान की मर्जी होती कि ये ऊपर की तरफ जाता तो वो ऊपर की तरफ जाता, तो मेरे हिसाब से वो लॉजिक वहीं खत्म हो जाती है ना। Welcome you all to this Modern India classes. Fine. So when it comes to Modern Indian classes, you must be quite, what to say, excited in order to start Modern India. But I won't like to start Modern India directly. Rather, I would like to go for a sort of analysis. The analysis, what can make you the things very clear for Modern India. When it comes to Modern India, normally you are having certain perception. And I think it's better to start from that perception only. That what is your perception and whether this perception is fit for your UPSC journey or not, or for the preparation of history optional or not. That's also very important, right? So it's a sort of analysis, right? And if I believe that this kind of analysis cannot be done on the chat GPT, where there are so many things they are doing the analysis of the question on chat GPT, but then it is not the appropriate way of analyzing the questions on chat GPT, because it's not about numbers, right? It's not about number, rather it's a basically comparison, right, to the comparison between the questions coming into the examination and at the same time the content which is there for Modern India. So it's a different kind of analysis is needed, and in fact in today's session we'll just try to plan, we'll just try to have a sort of comparison between the two, right, or a sort of analysis of the Modern India, because yes, I believe that as far as this Modern India is concerned, it has gone through a sort of great change. Fine. So as I did tell you that we will start with Modern India, and I'll start with basically a sort of analysis of this, and this analysis is undoubtedly very, very, very important, right? So let's leave everything, right? Let's come to a very simple question, that when it comes to Modern India, what is your perception for Modern India, right? And in fact, it is a perception with majority of the people. The moment somebody says Modern India, उनके दिमाग में क्या आता है? What idea exactly they are getting? With the coming of this Modern India, the simple idea what comes into their mind, or everybody's mind, I say, I must say, that is Indian freedom movement. Fine. This is Indian freedom movement. The moment somebody says Modern India, the image of Mahatma Gandhi comes into our mind, and हमको लगता है कि महात्मा गांधी आ गए हैं, ठीक है, and then he is launching so many movements one after another. Non-cooperation movement, and before non-cooperation movement, it's Champaran, Kheda, Ahmedabad, then anti-Rowlatt Act movement, then non-cooperation movement along with the Khilafat movement. Then Gandhi goes to civil disobedience movement. Then Gandhi goes to Quit India movement, and that's how India becomes independent, right? And in in this particular journey, we sometimes even remember some revolutionaries also, like Bhagat Singh and all, and that's how we believe that okay, Modern India is being completed. I think this is one of the one of the worst perception for Modern India, and probably this is one of the reasons because of what somehow you are not able to perform very good in this particular segment. So when it comes to Modern India, frankly speaking, first of all, it is not about only the Indian freedom movement, which is the general perception. It is a wrong perception, right? It is just one part, or let's say it is considered as merely one part of the syllabus, or one part of in general also. If you'll say Modern India, irrespective of that syllabus which has been provided by UPSC, I must say it is a mere part of a mere part of Modern India. So Modern India is somehow, I can say, is much more lengthy, is much more elaborated, rather than having information only about this Indian freedom movement. So then what is there in Modern India? So in that case, I must say, before I get into the syllabus, of course I'll get into the syllabus also, in today's class itself. But the moment it comes to modern India, like it starts from basically which period? So first of all, let me tell you that the the perception that we are having for modern India itself is something which is going through a sort of drastic change or a sort of transition. Now, simply speaking, if it is about like the beginning of modernity in India, right? The starting or the beginning of modernity in India, now it remains one of the debate among scholars that when did this modernity start in India? Because if you'll read different scholars, you'll find that different arguments are being given by them for this beginning of modernity, for the beginning of this modernity, such as let me give you some popular example. When it comes to Bipin Chandra, according to Bipin Chandra, with the coming of Rajaram Mohan Rai, that's beginning of 19th century, the modernity started in India. When it comes to, let's say, Sumit Sarkar believed that the modernity started only with the formation of Indian National Congress. उनके अपने perception थे समझने के लिए, उनको लगा कि the coming of modern political parties is something that could be taken as what? That could be taken as the parameter for the beginning of modernity. On the other hand, how did Bipin Chandra believe? He did believe in this logic that with the coming of Rajaram Mohan Rai, you find that a rational idea, a modern idea is taking entry into India, and that's how his coming itself is the parameter for the beginning of modernity. There are some other scholars also they have believed the modernity started only after 1857, and they believe that 1857 is one of the key event or one of the landmark event, and that's how they find the beginning of modern India from that point of time. And do you know why? Because somehow 1857 onwards it was believed that nationalism has come into India. That was considered as the first war of independence in India, and that's how they believe ki ultimately that with the coming of Indian nationalism, with the beginning of Indian freedom movement, ultimately we can say ki the modernity had started. So as we can see that some of those pioneers of modern Indian history, they themselves have given different kind of ideas for the for the beginning of modern India. But then these perceptions were considered to be a very old perception. The moment it comes to the idea pertaining to modernity, now how can it be defined? Modernity is something which is about the changing trend. The way you have, that when you enter from ancient to medieval, and feudalism was considered to be one of the most important indicator of the parameter to decide that whether the society has entered into medieval or not. So in the same fashion, we can say that if the society enters from medieval to modernity, in that case, there must be some parameters. And in fact, the word modernity itself, if we'll leave history, if we'll simply try to understand that what is modernity, I think you can define the modernity just in one word, and what is it? That is called as rationalism. Okay. Modernity or medievalism में क्या फर्क है? Modernity और medievalism में फर्क rationalism का है, ठीक है? So medieval is never considered to be rational, and in fact, instead of giving so many examples, I would like to just give you one example to make you understand how this rationalism is something which makes the difference between, at one hand, medievalism, on the other hand, modernity, right? जब आप देखते हैं कि medievalism है इंडिया में, at that point of time, Bhakti movement was one of the leading, what to say, element of the medieval society. और Bhakti movement क्या है? Bhakti movement is categorically asking you to devote yourself more to the God. rather than the material thing. Fine. आपको कहते हैं कि जो है भगवान की भक्ति में लीन रहो. This is one of the feature of medievalism, though it may be subjective, it may be a subject to debate, but then I am just trying to trying to keep the things very simple over here. आई डोंट वांट टू कॉम्प्लिकेट. तो आप मिडिवलिज्म में आप देखेंगे रिलीजन का बड़ा डोमिनेंस है, या लोगों का मटेरियलिज्म की बजाय जो है थोड़ा स्पिरिचुअलिज्म के ऊपर ज्यादा फोकस है. तो उस तरीके के फीचर्स हुआ करते थे. सिर्फ एक फीचर मैं बता रहा हूं, दैट यू कैन फाइंड इन द डोमेन ऑफ पॉलिटी ऑल्सो, दैट यू कैन फाइंड इन द डोमेन ऑफ इकोनॉमी ऑल्सो, सो यू कैन फाइंड इट इन मल्टीपल डोमेन्स. फाइन. So when it comes to when it comes to this perception of medievalism, that was changing in modernity. And how does it change? Right, because now you find so many new threats are coming, and they had been changing changing the whole society as a whole. So such as when you talk about polity, instead of a monarchy, instead of a system where the king used to be everything, the Badshah used to be everything, now you can find a democratic system is coming. And I'm not discussing anything in the context of India, I'm discussing modernity in general. So जब आप modernity को समझते हैं, इसका मतलब that previous sort of rule is coming to an end, and instead of that you find a new system is coming, and that system is parliamentary democracy. And of course you know that in Europe it had started somewhere in 16th 17th century. You find the beginning of this. सो धीरे धीरे यूरोपियन कंट्रीज, खासकर वेस्टर्न यूरोपियन कंट्रीज इसमें एंटर करते हैं. मॉडर्निटी इज ऑल्सो अबाउट लाइक द न्यू इकोनॉमिक सिस्टम. And what is this new economic system? So we earlier believed that the intervention of the states or the government into the economic system was something which was very much needed. And as you all know that under the policy of mercantilism, you can find that like during this particular period, you can find the policy of mercantilism was appearing. So what is this policy of mercantilism? There you believe that government has the right, in fact government should intervene in the economic activities. Now that never used to be the phenomena till the medieval period of time. Economy was always considered to be a different segment where the state has no role to play. And in fact, when we do medieval, at that these kind of discussions we go for ki what role state had been playing in the economy. And only in couple of areas, in now if I'll discuss in context of India, I can say only in couple of areas, such as you can talk about such as opium cultivation or tobacco cultivation. So there are or let's say salt production. So there are a couple of areas which were under the monopoly of the state. Rest of the things were very much free from any sort of state intervention. But then this particular tendency was also changing with the coming of modernity, where you can find that state had started playing very important role in the economic activities. And in fact, I can say state supported economy, the idea of state supported economy is coming, which was completely a new phenomena which is coming, though it does not remain same over the period. That Adam Smith is coming, and in fact he started talking about the free trade, which is free from basically the state intervention. So that is changing. But then of course, when we are discussing about that period where the modernity or this transition is going on, at that point of time you can find that ultimately ultimately state has started playing a very important role, and that appears in Europe as a broader policy which is being known as the mercantilism, right? So mercantilism में खास क्या है, स्टेट कहता है तुम आगे बढ़ो, हम तुम्हारे पीछे हैं, और स्टेट के अपने बेनिफिट्स, अपने फायदे हैं जिसकी वजह से वो करता है. तो दिस इज अ न्यू पॉलिसी. तो आई वोंट से इट इज अ वेरी लॉजिकल और द रैशनल थिंग, राइट? But then of course it is a new change that can be noted. In the same fashion, we can say that society is also changing. Now, if we'll talk about Europe, in that case, you know that Christianity used to be very powerful, very dominant at one point of time. And in fact, Christianity or the basically authorities of the religion, they had a greater role to play even in the other domains apart from religious domains, such as political domain, because the king, right, the ruling elites are very closely associated with the religious people, such as Pope, Father, and all these kind of things. And that's how these people were having some sort of some sort of intervention in the political domain. In fact, it's also being said that no decisions were being taken by the king without the approval of the religious authorities. And that's how you can find that there was greater penetration of religion into the polity. And if it was there in polity, it's quite obvious to understand that there must be a sort of greater penetration of religion even in the society also. So you know that society or the people as part of society was very much under the let's say control of religion, and nothing could have been done without the permission or without the approval of the religion. So we can say that medievalism is indicating towards such kind of society where religion was quite dominant, and in fact it had been regulating most of the things of the most of the things of the society. So that's how we can say that religion was very, very dominant. The moment you enter into modernity, now you find that religion is there, right? Religion is not getting washed off, right? Religion is very much there, but then religion is now changing its role, and it is coming out from the public domain to the private domain. How do we follow our religion? That becomes my concern only, or our concern only, rather than somebody else's. Earlier, how we are supposed to follow the religion, that must be instructed to us by the other people, of course the religious authorities. And that's how we can say कि the social life of the people were very much being controlled. अभी क्या है, ऐसा नहीं. अभी religion जो है private domain में आ गया, जो आज के टाइम पे आप देखते हैं कि how we are following a religion, what religion we are following, what is the process through which we have been following. Let's say if I'm following Hinduism, now it is not abiding for me that I have to visit temple every day. ये मुझे कोई force नहीं कर सकते. This is my choice, ठीक है, whether I want to go want to visit the temple every day or not, because now it is there in the private domain. And that's how one of the greatest change you can find with the coming of modernity, specifically in Europe. So that's why I was giving you the example of Christianity. And that partially I did tell you even for India also, that how Bhakti movement used to be very dominant in India. But then Bhakti movement मतलब religious intervention, right? Bhakti movement का हटना इसका मतलब है कि religious movement जो religion का dominance है society में थोड़ा कम हो रहा है, और हम दूसरी तरफ shift कर रहे हैं. और जिस तरीके से आप यूरोप में देखते हैं कि there are so many new forms of let's say Christianity coming, right? instead of the Catholic form of Christianity, like which was centered at Rome, you find that new form of Christianity started coming, such as you can talk about Protestant form of Christianity. Then Calvinism is there, like Presbyterianism is there, the Anglican Church is there, right? So there are so many new churches are coming, and in fact, these new, let's say, churches or the new forms of Christianity were giving ample amount of freedom to whom? Ample amount of freedom to basically the people, those who have been following it, and that's how we can say a new environment comes in, right? And at the same time, I'll say you another thing, like which is very important. And what's that? Like ultimately you find that during this particular period, one sort of like idea which is getting spread in the world, let's say in Europe, that's the idea of rationalism, right? So when you start thinking logically, that's called as rationalism. But if something is happening, there might be two ways of thinking it. Let's say any event is happening, कुछ भी हो रहा है, उसके दो तरीके हो सकते हैं सोचने के. एक, ये क्यों हुआ, ये भगवान की मर्जी थी जिसकी वजह से हुआ, ठीक है. दूसरा क्या है कि अगर हुआ है तो देयर मस्ट बी सम साइंटिफिक प्रिंसिपल इन ऑर्डर टू एक्सप्लेन इट. दीज आर टू वेज, ठीक है. आप हम कई बार न्यूटन को लेके कई बार हम मजाक उड़ाते हैं, ठीक है. जब भी लेकिन आप एक बात सोच के देखें कि जब न्यूटन ने सेब को गिरते हुए देखा था, तो न्यूटन के दिमाग में एक जवाब ये भी आ सकता था कि ठीक है यार, भगवान की मर्जी है, ये नीचे गिर गया. अगर भगवान की मर्जी होती कि ये ऊपर की तरफ जाता तो वो ऊपर की तरफ जाता, तो मेरे हिसाब से वो लॉजिक वहीं खत्म हो जाती है ना. लेकिन ऐसा हुआ नहीं. एज यू ऑल नो दैट इट इज नॉट हैपनिंग इन द सेम वे. रादर यू फाइंड दैट ही स्टार्टेड थिंकिंग लॉजिकली, and logically as in why did it fall down, and then he ultimately discovered the gravitational force that you all know. So that's how the society becomes logical, and whenever the society becomes logical, what happens, the society starts so many discoveries, scientific discoveries, and in fact that becomes one of the reality of the modern period, because the Europe, at least at that point of time, started discovering so many things. And probably this was somehow appearing in form of what, a scientific revolution that you see in Europe. And there are so many things being discovered. Either it is about printing press, is about the engine, and there is this series of discoveries which are happening at that point of time. It is all about all because of the logical thinking. So the moment you talk about modernity, right, modernity is about this also. So basically when you find that in every domain, and in fact I did tell you that when scientific discoveries, sorry, I didn't tell you that when the scientific discoveries are happening, at that point of time you ultimately find that with the scientific discoveries, ultimately industrial revolution is coming, or industrial revolution is taking place. And the industrial revolution is undoubtedly one of the leading events or one of the path-breaking events in the world history. And ultimately change everything, everything मतलब everything, बहुत सारी चीज़ों को impact करता है. जिस तरीके से the way you see the coming of the coming of change in the mode of production, the way you find basically I mean to say the way you find the capitalism is coming, the way it was impacting the governments and so on. So that's how you see multiple changes are coming because of that also, due to that also, right? So when it comes to modernity, you should always think about modernity in this way, fine. So when it comes to modernity, there is another wrong perception what you guys carry with you, that when it comes to modernity, you believe in the whole world the modernity would have come in the same time. That's practically not possible. And in fact मैं बार बार आपसे एक बात कहता हूँ कि यूरोप और इंडिया को अगर आप मिडीवल वेस्टर्न यूरोप को और आप इंडिया को अगर आप कंपेयर करेंगे मिडीवल टाइम्स में, in that case you can find that medieval India is far better. And in fact, if you do not accept that theory of feudalism or that principle of feudalism given by T.D. Kosambi and R.S. Sharma, in that case I must say if you do not accept that for Indian context, in that case I must say feudalism was not there in India. और अगर इंडिया में feudalism नहीं है तो इसका मतलब है कि यूरोप में feudalism है, and that was considered to be one of the greatest parameter for medieval Europe, that was not applicable in India. So whether India was there in medievalism or not, that could be subjective. Though for our convenience we do study medieval India, medieval India, and there are a couple of similar features are there. But अगर आप यूरोप को medieval India से compare करेंगे तो वो स्टैग्नेंसी इंडिया में नहीं है. जिस स्टैग्नेंसी की वजह से आप यूरोप में इस पीरियड को मिडिवलिज्म कहते हैं, दैट्स समवेयर बिटवीन 5th सेंचुरी टू लेट्स से 13, 14, 15 सेंचुरी, जिसको फिर आपको पता है कि राइट रेनेसांस कमिंग, एनलाइटनमेंट इज कमिंग, रिलीजियस रिफॉर्म मूवमेंट इज कमिंग. देयर आर so many things happening between 15 to 17th century which led to Europe ultimately to enter into modernity. So it's all happening because of these movements. बट उससे पहले अगर आप देखेंगे तो इंडिया तो कहीं भी स्टैग्नेंट नहीं है, क्योंकि जब मुगल्स हैं या फिर जब दिल्ली सल्तनत भी है, इवन विजयनगर भी है जब, ठीक है, आप देखते हैं कि इंडिया तो बहुत मोबाइल है, इंडिया इज हैविंग इट्स लाइक ब्रिस्क ट्रेड विद साउथ ईस्ट एशिया, चाइना, यूरोप, अरेबियन वर्ल्ड, राइट? So India is very mobile at that point of time. So by any chance we can't say that India is stagnant, and that's this is one of the debate which is there among one of the debates which is there among scholars. Ki, is it correct to say that, like, since Europe was in medievalism, so that's how rest of the world is also in medievalism? That idea has been rejected because एक तरफ जब आप यूरोप में स्टैग्नेंसी देखते हैं, उस समय इस्लामिक वर्ल्ड सबसे ज्यादा मोबाइल है. दिस इज ऑल्सो लाइक समथिंग दैट यू नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड. अब सबसे ज्यादा मतलब सबसे ज्यादा मोबाइल, ठीक है. तो यूजुअली हम कहते हैं कि जो है पूरी दुनिया स्टैटिक है, स्टैग्नेंट है, लेकिन उसमें कोई चेंज नहीं है. ये आइडिया अप्रोप्रिएट है नहीं. तो प्रॉब्लम इसके साथ क्या है कि वेरेवर इट कम्स टू द राइटिंग ऑफ हिस्ट्री, इट इज मोस्टली बीइंग लाइक गाइडेड बाय व्हाट, यूरोपियन स्कॉलर्स. एक ऐसा दौर रहा, एक और दौर मतलब वो काफी लंबा दौर रहा, लेकिन 200-250 साल 300 साल का एक दौर रहा, जिसमें अल्टीमेटली यूरोपियंस ने पूरी दुनिया को कॉलोनाइज कर रखा था. और यही वजह है कि जो आइडिया ऑफ नॉलेज है, दैट आइडिया ऑफ नॉलेज इटसेल्फ इज बीइंग गाइडेड बाय देम, राइट? सो व्हाट माइकल फूको सेज कि जो है नॉलेज इज बेसिकली क्रिएटेड आउट ऑफ पावर. अगर आपके पास पावर है तो आप नॉलेज क्रिएट कर सकते हैं, एंड दैट कुड बिकम द ऑथेंटिक नॉलेज. एंड इनफैक्ट जब हम मॉडर्न इंडिया पढ़ेंगे तो इस प्रिंसिपल को हम बहुत अप्लाई करेंगे कि ये जो आइडिया है इंडिया के बारे में निकला, ये आइडिया कहां से निकला? दैट आइडिया अल्टीमेटली इवॉल्व फ्रॉम व्हाट? दैट आइडिया इवॉल्व फ्रॉम दैट पावर, राइट? Colonial people were there, like, in the powerful position, and that's how when it comes to the creation of knowledge, since they themselves, like, had been controlling fully the creation of knowledge in India, or even for India, that was under the control of the European people. So it's quite obvious that they would create the knowledge, like, which would be definitely biased. ये तो बहुत सोच सिंपल सी बात है. और वो biased information इंडिया में बहुत दिन तक थी, ठीक है, और अभी भी है. तो ये पूरी दुनिया के लिए सही. तो उन्होंने क्या किया, लेकिन somehow they presented कि no, since it was medievalism in Europe, so the whole world was having medievalism. Now it is, as I told you, that it is being negated also by couple of scholars, ठीक है. वो कहते हैं नहीं है, ये कम से कम जो मिडिल ईस्ट है, जो इस्लामिक वर्ल्ड है, उसमें मेडिवलिज्म नहीं है. इंडिया में भी मेडिवलिज्म नहीं है क्योंकि बहुत मोबिलिटी है इंडिया में. सो दैट्स हाउ वी कांट सी इट इन दिस वे, ठीक है. लेकिन मैंने कहा ना कि जब हम उस यूरोपियन परसेप्शन से, अकेडमिक वर्ल्ड में हमें उस यूरोपियन परसेप्शन से बाहर जाना है तो थोड़ा वक्त लगेगा, थोड़ा शायद और वक्त लगेगा. जब उसमें से बाहर जाए, हम अपनी एक पूरी तरीके से हिस्ट्री बनाए, तो उसमें शायद थोड़ा और वक्त लगेगा. तब तक हमें इसी हिस्ट्री के साथ एडजस्ट करना है, हम करेंगे, ठीक है. पर मैंने आपको एक सोचने का एक तरीका ये भी दिया है कि आपको जब भी सोचना है तो आप whenever you have to make a comparison basically between Europe and India, so you should have this method of comparison also. Fine. So okay, fine, whether it is modernity, medievalism or not, that we'll discuss somewhere later. But then you should understand that since they started writing about everything, and in fact they claim, right, so they claim that they are those who are bringing modernity to the other parts of the world. So sometimes what happened, this modernity which comes slightly earlier, that is true that the modernity is coming. If modernity is something, in that case it is coming earliest in Europe, इसमें कोई doubt नहीं. और यूरोप बहुत सारे revolutions में जाता है. Just now I had been taking the name of those revolutions, such as Renaissance, very important movement, which is happening in 15th century. Renaissance is taking place in Italy. It started from Italy, right? It's getting spread to the other parts of Western Europe also. तो जब ये होता है तो फिर जाहिर सी बात है यूरोप चेंज करता है. Then Enlightenment is coming. Enlightenment is another movement which ultimately made the Western Europe precisely quite logical. So Enlightenment is having greater impact. Then you see so the religious reform movement is happening. Then scientific revolution is coming in 17th century. So that's how you can find that there are so many revolutions taking place in England, in Europe. And that's how Europe takes an entry into modernity. तो यूरोप थोड़ा एडवांटेज तो है इसमें कोई डाउट नहीं है कि यूरोप जो है मिडिवलिज्म तक, मैं कहूंगा कि यूरोप पीछे है, दुनिया के बाकी हिस्से खासकर इस्लामिक वर्ल्ड और इंडिया बहुत आगे है. लेकिन वो जो दौर है, उस दौर में somehow they are taking a lead because of all these kind of thing. So it's not necessary that when the modernity is starting at that in Europe, it's equally applicable to the other parts. ये तो खुद एक तो सबसे बड़ी प्रॉब्लम वही है कि हिस्ट्री राइटिंग उन्होंने की. जब उन्होंने हिस्ट्री राइटिंग की तो वो तो कभी नहीं मानेंगे ना कि जो है 17th सेंचुरी में ही जो है वो मॉडर्निटी इंडिया में एंटर कर जाती है. वो तो यही कहेंगे कि जो है वंस यूरोपियन स्टार्टेड गेटिंग स्प्रेड इनटू द वेरियस पार्ट्स ऑफ वर्ल्ड इंक्लूडिंग इंडिया, सो दे कैरी द मॉडर्निटी विद देम, एंड दैट्स हाउ मॉडर्निटी इज रीचिंग टू द रेस्ट ऑफ द पार्ट्स ऑफ वर्ल्ड इंक्लूडिंग इंडिया, है ना. वो यही कहते हैं कि इसकी वजह से आया. But then it's again subjective. Modernity is not something which is completely under the control of these people. And in fact, this is the reason because of what these days another idea has come, and that's called as early modern, right? That has been called as the early modern. And in fact, एक period है जिसको हम कहते हैं 16th century से लेकर 18th century तक. 16 सेंचुरी से लेकर 18 सेंचुरी तक का जो पीरियड है, वी हैव स्टार्टेड कीपिंग इट इन द कैटेगरी ऑफ अर्ली मॉडर्न। मैंने पहले भी कहा कि इंडिया में मेडिवलिज्म के फीचर उतने स्ट्रांग नहीं है जितने यूरोप में है, क्योंकि इंडिया बाय एनी चांस स्टैग्नेंट नहीं है। तो कहते हैं कि वो मोबिलिटी जो है इंडिया की, वो मोबिलिटी और बढ़ जाती है। कब बढ़ जाती है? एक बार जब यूरोपियंस आना यहाँ पे इंडिया में शुरू करते हैं, बिकॉज यू नो दैट यूरोपियंस हैव स्टार्टेड एंटरिंग इनटू इंडिया somewhere from 16th century itself, right? So once the Europeans have started coming into India, then after you find that India somehow became more mobile. तो इंडिया में आप अगर मोनार्की को छोड़ दे, जो लाइक मुगल्स आते हैं, apart from that you can find that India was very advanced in multiple regards. अच्छा, जिस तरीके से आप देखते हैं यूरोप में क्रिश्चियनिटी डोमिनेंट है, इतनी डोमिनेंट तो इंडिया में कभी भी जो है रिलीजन नहीं रहे। Religion was playing very important role, but it was not that much like dominant. So now there is a new perception also, like that's early medieval, like early modern, and there are certain scholars they believe कि no, as far as this early modernity is concerned, now early modernity has already entered into India long back मतलब they are saying कि somewhere in 16th century, with the coming of these European companies, they started changing, and in fact this credit cannot be given to the Europeans. That's must be noted precisely here, that this credit cannot be given to the Europeans, right? But then as I did tell you, that somehow it remains as the core of this idea of modernity. So let's leave this idea of early modern right now. Of course, we'll start the syllabus from early modern itself, and I'll discuss some of the features of early modernity, right? But right now you just believe that when it comes to the modernity, this remains as one of the most important feature of modernity. Now you start finding this modernity not necessarily only from the, let's say, well, with the formation of Congress, ठीक है, what Sumit Sarkar is, not only with the 1857, ठीक है, कि 1857 जो है वो it is launching modernity in India, not even the coming of Raja Ram Mohan Rai, because these are some of the early perceptions. Nowadays we believe that from the middle of 18th century somehow this modernity had started entering into India. So that is much before the entry of the colonial education or the Western education into India, because as I told you that there cannot be one parameter of the modernity. ठीक है, अगर आप सिर्फ rational thinking से modernity को connect करते हैं तो शायद आप वेस्टर्न एजुकेशन को बड़ा क्रेडिट देंगे, लेकिन अगर आप मॉडर्न एजुकेशन से ही कनेक्ट नहीं करते हैं, सो इन दैट केस सम अदर पैरामीटर्स वुड बी आल्सो देयर. सो इन द अदर पैरामीटर्स द बैटल ऑफ पलासी इज कंसिडर्ड टू बी वन ऑफ द मोस्ट लीडिंग इवेंट. एंड व्हाई पलासी इज सो इंपॉर्टेंट, मतलब एवरी टाइम यू टॉक अबाउट पलासी, इनफैक्ट कुछ लोग तो सीधा सीधा कह देते कि पलासी की लड़ाई के बाद जो है इंडिया मॉडर्न में एंटर कर गया. अब अगेन ये बहुत सब्जेक्टिव आइडिया है, ये बात लेकिन समझिएगा, लेकिन पलासी की लड़ाई के बाद एक चेंज आपको जरूर दिखाई देगा. एंड व्हाट इज दैट चेंज? द चेंज इज दैट सिंस द यूरोपियंस आर कमिंग इनटू द पावर, तो दैट द रूलिंग सिस्टम, राइट, और द सिस्टम ऑफ गवर्नमेंट और एंड गवर्नेंस आल्सो दे वर चेंजिंग इन इंडिया. पहले क्या होते थे, नवाब हुआ करते थे, ठीक है, एंड यू नो दैट व्हेनेवर इट कम्स टू नवाब, बादशाह, राजा, they had been following the medieval system. As I did tell you that monarchy used to be there, right, king used to be there, and जब भी king है तो whether they were arbitrary despotic ruler or not, that may be a subject to debate, हम उस पर अभी नहीं जा रहे हैं. लेकिन हाँ, जब भी कोई नवाब है तो कोई डिसेंट्रलाइज सिस्टम तो नहीं है, ठीक है, इट वाज अनडाउटेडली 100% सेंट्रलाइज सिस्टम. सो दैट इज द रीजन बिकॉज ऑफ व्हाट वी मोर फाइंड इट क्लोजर टू मिडिवलिज्म रादर देन मॉडर्निटी. लेकिन एक बार आप देखते हैं कि वंस द यूरोपियन पीपल आर टेकिंग द पावर, they are controlling, they started controlling the power. Now these people have started getting into certain new systems, right, certain new system for administration, such as that the formation of the council. Let's say first of all the coming of various acts. 1773 regulating act is coming, 1784 the Pitt's India Act is coming, 1786 an amendment act is coming. Again there were so many things, 93 the Charter Act is coming. So there are several acts are coming, they were being passed in British Parliament, and as per those acts passed in British Parliament, the Indian's administrative system was changing. So the way you see that now, instead of one person, there is a council where Governor General is there, Governor General is being assisted by 4 more people, that number kept on changing, ठीक है. तो इस तरीके से एक काउंसिल होती है जो काउंसिल इंडियन एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन के लिए रिस्पॉन्सिबल होती है. तो एक बिल्कुल नया सिस्टम है. सो आप इसको इग्नोर नहीं कर सकते, ठीक है. आप ये नहीं कह सकते कि ठीक है यार, हो गया तो हो गया, कौन सी बड़ी बात है. नहीं, ऑफकोर्स इट इज ए चेंज विच इज कमिंग. And that is one of the reasons that we have started pushing back the period of modernity in India, and we have started believing that due to this Palasi and the various changes coming post Palasi, you can find that from the middle of 18th century, right, from middle of 18th century, right, middle of 18th century, India has started gradually entering into modernity. सवाल तो आप ये भी पूछ सकते हैं कि क्या इंडिया आज की डेट में पूरी तरीके से मॉडर्न हो गया? मेरा जवाब जो है I'll be undoubtedly hesitant कि क्या सच में ये सही है या नहीं, क्योंकि इंडिया में बहुत सारी चीजें अभी भी ऐसे होती है जो ये प्रूव करती है कि जो है यार कुछ ना कुछ सोसाइटी के कुछ ऐसे हिस्से अभी भी है जो शायद मॉडर्न नहीं है, मॉडर्निटी नहीं। अगर डॉरी के नाम पे किसी को जला दिया जाए, ठीक है, अगर कास्ट के नाम पे किसी को टॉर्चर किया जाए, तो वेदर इट इज मॉडर्न, वेदर इट इज लॉजिकल और नॉट, दैट इज अ सब्जेक्ट टू डिबेट। ऑफ कोर्स हमें सोचना चाहिए उस बारे में, तो वो एक सब्जेक्टिव चीज है, ठीक है, उसको हम डिस्कशंस में लेंगे, ठीक है। पर आप ये सवाल पूछ सकते हैं, बट आप उसको ऐसे मत देखिए, लाइक वी आर समहाउ ट्राइंग टू ट्रेस सम ऑफ द ब्रॉडर चेंजेस व्हिच आर हैपनिंग, and as per those broader changes, as I did tell you, like somehow we believe that middle of the 18th century is that period from where India gradually started entering into modernity. But then it is not the completion of that process. So you can't say in this way कि okay, immediately after the battle of Palasi, India entered into modernity. जब भी मैं सवाल कई बार क्लास में पूछता हूँ तो लोग बोलते हैं कि पलासी के बाद मॉडर्निटी आ गया, या राजा राम मोहन राय के पैदा होने के बाद मॉडर्निटी आ गई। ये आंसर देने का गलत तरीका है, दिस इज अ रॉन्ग वे ऑफ आंसरिंग। क्यों हम ऐसा नहीं कह सकते? आपको क्यों लगता है कि जो है एक दिन हम सोए होंगे मिडिवलिज्म में, अगले दिन हम उठे होंगे मॉडर्निटी में? प्रैक्टिकली तो ये पॉसिबल नहीं है कि एक दिन हम जो है रात को सोए होंगे तो हम जो है कुर्ता पजामा अचकन और ये सारी चीजें पहन के सोए होंगे, अगले दिन उठे तो देखा कि अरे सब कुछ चेंज हो गया भाई, यहाँ पे तो कुछ भी नहीं है ऐसा। मतलब हमने जीन्स पहना हुआ है, हमने जो है टी शर्ट डाली हुई है, ठीक है, अब सनग्लास है इसमें, जो है हम अब एकदम से अचानक से हम दूसरे पीरियड में आ गए। ऑफ कोर्स लाइक नो दिस इज सॉर्ट ऑफ सार्कास्टिक वे ऑफ टेलिंग यू, बट you should understand that this like things are not happening in this way. Always the transitions are always gradual. So if India enters, let's say if we assume that there was a medievalism in India, India enters into a modernity, that must be a gradual transition, right? And this gradual transition is happening more or less from the middle of 18th century, right? And that goes up to like we can say it is something which continued to at least till 1857. 1857 को हम बड़ा लैंडमार्क इवेंट मानते हैं, इसमें कोई डाउट तो है नहीं कि 1857 के बाद कहीं ना कहीं एक जो है इंडिया के सिनेरियो में एक चेंज आता है, ठीक है, देयर इज अ ट्रांजिशन लाइक नो व्हिच कम्स इन, और इंडिया समहाउ रीचेस टू अ पर्टिकुलर स्टेज। दैट्स व्हाट वी कैन से फॉर 1857, दैट विल लाइक डिस्कस आफ्टर लाइक एनालाइजिंग 1857. But for time being you can say कि ये जो 100 years है ना, these 100 years are considered to be very important with respect to securing the transition of India, and that's how this period is like very important. अभी आप बोलेंगे कि इतनी कहानी मैं क्यों सुना रहा हूं? इतनी कहानी मैं आपको इसलिए सुना रहा हूं क्योंकि आप ये समझ पाए कि अगर आप इफ यू बिलीव दैट 18th century and 19th century they do not stand very important like in the history of Indian modern India, then it is incorrect. Of course they are also having very important role, and I'm telling you all this like in order to bring out from that perception that as far as this modern India is concerned, it's all about the freedom movement of India. So of course it is not about the freedom movement of India, it's also about so many other things, right? This is one thing like that you need to understand. Apart from that, now there are so many things apart from this like timeline, as I did tell you that it can be pushed back. And in fact अगर आप हिस्ट्री ऑप्शन में जीएस के सिलेबस को आप देखेंगे तो जीएस के सिलेबस में भी आप देखेंगे कि पहले लोग जो है राजा राम मोहन राय से ही पढ़ना शुरू करते थे, अब जो है 18th सेंचुरी भी पढ़ते हैं। और आपके सिलेबस में प्रिसाइजली जीएस के सिलेबस में लिखा हुआ है कि फ्रॉम द मिडिल ऑफ 18th सेंचुरी। और ऐसा क्यों लिख के दिया यूपीएससी ने? ऐसा इसलिए लिख के दिया क्योंकि उनको वो बार बार समझाना चाहते कि भाई मॉडर्न इंडिया जो है 1857 से या फिर जो है राजा राम मोहन राय से शुरू नहीं हो रहा। आप मानते ही नहीं थे, तो उनको लगा ये नहीं मानेंगे, तो उन्होंने कहा कि लिख देते सिलेबस में कि फ्रॉम द मिडिल ऑफ 18th सेंचुरी लाइक मिडिल ऑफ 18th सेंचुरी एंड ऑनवर्ड्स अनडाउटेडली. So that's how like you can find that okay like the idea of this modernity or the modern India has been shifted back, and now we have started tracing the events from the middle of 18th century. How is it impacting your syllabus? That I'll discuss later, right? So of course this is one part which is there. Well, apart from this like what's the another thing which is very important कि when it comes to like the modern India is not only about the freedom movement, right? Modern India is also about like there are so many parallel developments such as the economic developments are there, right? Of course social developments are there, okay? Then we can talk about some sort of religious development also. So modernity is also about the development in these eras. So when you talk about the development in these eras, I'm not saying that they must not be connected with the Indian freedom movement, but they must be connected. They are not the core of it. So when you say, let's say let me give you one example. When you talk about, let's say, society for that matter, in society you study the social reformation movement. Sometimes we do have this tendency of studying the social reformation movement only with respect to the national freedom movement. In fact, majority of the people follow the same process. आप नेशनल जो फ्री सोशल रिफॉर्मेशन मूवमेंट है उसको आप नेशनलिस्ट मूवमेंट के या फ्रीडम मूवमेंट के पर्सपेक्टिव से समझने की कोशिश करते हैं. एंड लाइक वन थिंग कि ultimately there are certain things which are common, such as the same leaders are there. If we'll talk about Raja Ram Mohan Roy, Ishwachand Vidyasagar, like for that matter, Dayanand Saraswati, and like there's a long list of such people. They're even connected to Indian freedom movement either directly or indirectly. इसका सबसे बेहतर एग्जाम्पल हमारे पास Swami Vivekanand है. Swami Vivekanand is has nothing to do with this nationalism, had nothing to do with basically the colonization. So this person was a hardcore spiritual person, and he was just playing, or he was contributing in basically the Indian spirituality, right? We can say ki the way he was changing the society. So he had been doing all these kind of things, ठीक है? So that's the reason because of what I must say somebody is like Arbaaz is laughing, ठीक है? अरबाज को लग रहा है कि जो यार ये ऐसे तो कभी सोचा नहीं था कि जो है मॉडर्निटी में ऐसे एंटर कर सकते हैं, बट दिस इज हाउ इट इज, राइट? सो उनका रोल डायरेक्टली तो नहीं, हम इनडायरेक्टली लेकिन वहां पे भी ढूंढने की कोशिश करते हैं कि भाई उनका नेशनलिज्म में क्या कॉन्ट्रीब्यूशन और है भी. आई एम नॉट रिफ्यूजिंग, आई एम नॉट डिनाइंग, राइट, that he was not having any contribution. He is there. But then do you really believe that we should study Swami Vivekanand only with respect to his contribution in the national movement or his indirect contribution in the national movement? Not really. He was an ultimately spiritual person, and that person marks so many social reforms in India, the way he enlightened India, the way he is changing our process of following the religion. Because I hope you might have heard these kind of things, that he was part of the Vedantic philosophy, and it's the third phase of Vedantic philosophy, which is ultimately we can say it was started by Ramakrishna Paramahansa and his disciple Swami Vivekananda. So this person is making so many contributions even in these two domains also. Why not to understand them from these perspectives also? This is what I'm saying. In the same way, the moment you talk about let's say दयानंद सरस्वती की भी बात कर सकते हैं, बहुत लंबी कहानी है यहाँ पे. तो इंडिया सोशली भी जो है उस ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन में है. तो अगर इंडिया में एक सोशल ट्रांजिशन हो रहा है तो हर चीज हम कॉलोनाइजेशन से लिंक करके ही देखें वो जरूरी नहीं है. हर चीज कॉलोनाइजेशन से लिंक जरूर हो जाएगी क्योंकि इंडिया इज अल्टीमेटली कॉलोनाइज्ड एट दैट पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम. सो देयर इज नो प्रॉब्लम इन लिंकिंग दैट विद द इंडियन कॉलोनाइजेशन. ऑफ कोर्स इट कैन बी डन, बट देन दैट शुड नॉट बी द ओनली वे ऑफ अंडरस्टैंडिंग दैट थिंग. जब आप सोशल रिफॉर्मेशन की बात करते हैं तो सोशल रिफॉर्मेशन मूवमेंट में कुछ कनेक्शंस हो सकते हैं, लेकिन सच एज वेस्टर्न एजुकेशन का कुछ कनेक्शन हो सकता है, बट उस वेस्टर्न एजुकेशन की वजह से हम पूरा क्रेडिट हम उनको दे दे, ठीक है, वो तो सही नहीं है. या फिर हम पूरी तरीके से ये कहें कि ये लोग जो है अल्टीमेटली एज पार्ट ऑफ इंडियन फ्रीडम मूवमेंट दे हैड बीन साइमल्टेनियसली ट्राइंग टू डू समथिंग फॉर द सोशल रिफॉर्म आल्सो. दैट इज आल्सो इनकरेक्ट. ना इंडियन सोसाइटी इज इटसेल्फ ट्रांसफॉर्मिंग, ठीक है. और एक बात हमेशा याद रखें कि अगर आपको लगता है कि इंडियन सोसाइटी अगर कॉलोनाइजेशन नहीं होता तो इंडियन सोसाइटी ट्रांसफॉर्म नहीं करती या इंडियन सोसाइटी उस ट्रांजिशन में नहीं जाती, आई थिंक दैट वोंट बी राइट वे टू से. जाती, बिल्कुल जाती. मैंने पहले भी कहा कि इवन बिफोर द कमिंग ऑफ यूरोपियन कॉलोनाइजर्स, India most likely had started entering into modernity, and that's how this idea of early modern appears. तो ऐसा नहीं है कि इंडिया नहीं जाती. ऑफ कोर्स वक्त के साथ ट्रांजिशन होता है, वो हो सकता है थोड़ा देर से होता या हो सकता है थोड़ा पहले हो जाता, दैट तो वी डू नॉट नो, और वो हम कभी बाद में बात करेंगे, ठीक है. सो यू शुड अंडरस्टैंड कि दीज आर आल्सो सर्टेन एरियाज. ऑफ कोर्स वन एरिया दैट वी कांट इग्नोर, दैट्स अबाउट इकोनॉमी. इकोनॉमी इज मोर इन डीपली कनेक्टेड विद द कॉलोनाइजेशन, दैट्स ट्रू आल्सो. But again, it does not mean that it is all because of the colonization, right? It is all because of the colonization that we can't say. And it is quite unfortunate. It is quite unfortunate that we try to see always economy with respect to the with respect to the colonization. मैंने कहा impact है, but इसके अलावा भी हम उसको देख सकते हैं. So what I'm trying to tell you here that apart from the freedom movement, apart from the colonization, there are several other developments which are also there. And when you see the colonization of India, for that matter, when you see the colonization of India, at that point of time, you should understand one thing, that the colonization is not about only exploiting India. The colonization was at multiple levels, ठीक है. It's not only the political colonization, it's not only the economic colonization. At the same time, you can find some social colonization was also there, some mental colonization or psychological colonization was also there, some religious colonization was also there. So there are multiple kind of things which are also part of modern India itself. And that's how the way you see modern India, you need to come out from that perception of the modern India, and then you need to see it in a very different way. I hope I was able to convey my ideas to you, that don't see modern India only with respect to freedom movement. क्योंकि ऐसा क्यों होता है मैं आपको बताऊं. जैसे अगर हम फ्रीडम मूवमेंट की बात करें और थोड़ी बहुत हम इग्नोर कर देते हैं कि जो पेजेंट्री मूवमेंट्स हैं 1857 से पहले, तो यू डू नॉट स्टार्ट टेकिंग इंटरेस्ट इन मॉडर्न इंडिया बिफोर 1857, है ना. आप बहुत ज्यादा इंटरेस्ट लेते ही नहीं उसमें. लेकिन आप अगर देखेंगे कि द क्वेश्चंस व्हिच आर कमिंग फ्रॉम मॉडर्न प्री 1857 पीरियड, दे आर नॉट ओनली इंक्रीजिंग इन नंबर, राइट, समटाइम्स दे आर बिकमिंग more and more analytical. तो जब तक आप उस पार्ट पे फोकस नहीं करेंगे, मतलब आपको लगता है कि जो है हम मतलब इंडिया को फटाफट कॉलोनाइज कराए, इंडिया को कॉलोनाइज कराने के बाद एकदम से पहुंचे कि ये भाई तलवारें चल रही है, इधर रेवोल्यूशनरीज निकल रहे हैं, इधर सलमान खान मतलब गांधी जी निकल रहे हैं एंड सो ऑन, ठीक है। तो आपको लगता है कि हम जल्दी से जल्दी वहां पहुंचे, और आपको कुछ जगह पे पहुंचने में थोड़ी ज्यादा जल्दी होती है, जैसे रेवोल्यूशनरीज यू स्टार्ट टेकिंग इंटरेस्ट, ठीक है। बट यू कांट सी मॉडर्न इंडिया इन दिस वे। तो मॉडर्न इंडिया को देखने का तरीका आपका थोड़ा बदलना चाहिए। और ये मैंने कहा आपसे, मतलब दिस इज व्हाट आई ट्राई टू कन्वे टू यू, that yeah, like see the modern India not only with respect to freedom movement, rather the transition is there, political change is there, economic change is there, social changes are there, religious changes are there, and most importantly even the cultural changes are also there, right? Of course we can't ignore one more area, that's the cultural changes. And cultural changes जो होते हैं वो बहुत खतरनाक है। कल्चरल चेंजेस अब ये सिर्फ हम कॉलोनाइजेशन से या इंडियन फ्रीडम मूवमेंट से कनेक्ट करके नहीं देख सकते। मतलब कुछ एग्जांपल्स मैं अक्सर क्लास में दिया करता हूँ। रिसेंटली आई गॉट ए चांस, ठीक है, एक टाइम तो जब मैं एमफिल में था तब भी शायद काफ़ी वर्ष मैंने स्पेंड किया वहाँ पे। मैं अपने एमफिल में रिसर्च के काम की वजह से करीब 2-2.5 महीने कैलकाटा रहा। मेरा पहला एक्सपोजर था कैलकाटा का, और तब मैंने कुछ चीज़ें देखी वहाँ पे। और अभी रिसेंटली भी आई गॉट चांस टू स्टे देयर फॉर सम पीरियड ऑफ टाइम, अराउंड 1-1.5 मंथ आई स्टेड ओवर देयर। सो मैं एक बार एक बेकरी में गया तो वहां पे मैंने देखा कि कटलेट के बहुत सारे ऑप्शंस है ना। तो देन आई स्टार्टेड थिंकिंग फॉर अ व्हाइल कि यार व्हाई सो मेनी ऑप्शंस ऑफ कटलेट, वी डू नॉट फाइंड सो मेनी कटलेट्स इन दिल्ली। then what is the reason? Then I started thinking, started linking with the colonization. So आप देखते हैं कि बंगाल सबसे पहले कॉलोनाइज होता है, और बंगाल के कॉलोनाइज होने की वजह से जो कल्चरल इंपैक्ट है वो बंगाल में आपको बहुत दिखेगा, है ना। और इंडिया में भी बहुत दिखता है कल्चरल इंपैक्ट। मैं आपको एक बेहतर एग्जांपल और देता हूँ। जब आप ट्रेन में ट्रैवल करते हैं तो ट्रेन में ट्रैवल करते समय आपको दो ब्रेकफास्ट के ऑप्शंस मिलते हैं, और इसमें एक होता है कटलेट, अगर वेज वालों के लिए कटलेट होता है, और जो है नॉन वेज वालों के लिए ऑमलेट का जो है वो होता है, अरेंजमेंट होता है। नाउ बोथ द थिंग्स आर नॉट इंडियन ब्रेकफास्ट, राइट। वो नहीं है इंडियन ब्रेकफास्ट, ना तो कटलेट इंडियन खाते थे, ना ही जो है वो खाते थे, क्या कहते हैं, ऑमलेट खाते थे। इंडिया के नाश्ते जो है ब्रेकफास्ट बहुत अलग अलग है। लेकिन सोचो वो कॉलोनियल लेगेसी, जो कल्चरल इंपैक्ट है वो आज तक कैरी कर रहा है। आज तक इंडिया में ब्रेकफास्ट में वो पोहा नहीं दे रहे, वो डोसा नहीं दे रहे, ठीक है, वो जो है बंगाल के मुरमुरे या मुढ़ी नहीं दे रहे, ठीक है, वो एकदम नहीं, वो अलग चीज देते हैं। वो कॉलोनियल इंपैक्ट है, ठीक है। तो आप समझ रहे कल्चरल इंपैक्ट भी बहुत ज्यादा है। तो मॉडर्न इंडिया को सिर्फ जो है आप इंडियन फ्रीडम मूवमेंट के पर्सपेक्टिव से मत देखें, इसको थोड़ा उसके बियॉन्ड निकल के देखने की जरूरत है, क्योंकि उसमें से क्वेश्चंस भी आते हैं, तभी मैं इतना वक्त इस पे दे रहा हूं, है ना। तो इसको इस तरीके से देखने की कोशिश करिए। तो ये तो एक डायमेंशन है। तो अगर ये नहीं है इफ इट इज नॉट करेक्ट, मतलब इंडियन मॉडर्न इंडियन हिस्ट्री इज इक्विवेलेंट टू व्हाट टू से equivalent to basically this freedom movement, in that case what is this, okay fine, what is modern India? So if I'll go for a sort of generic idea for modern India for the syllabus, right? So let us try to understand what is there. So I think in the first part we should try to understand what, we should try to understand the colonization of India, okay? So yeah, we should start with the colonization of India, right? And the moment it comes to colonization of India, there are multiple parts of it. When it comes to the colonization of India, there are multiple parts of it. Let me tell you that what are the possible parts of it. So okay, India before colonization, India before colonization. तो जाननी पड़ेगी आपको, जब आप कॉलोनाइजेशन की बात करते हैं तो इंडिया बिफोर कॉलोनाइजेशन कैसी है, और इसमें कुछ पावर्स है जो बड़े इंपॉर्टेंट रोल प्ले करते हैं। आपको भी पता है कि देयर आर कपल ऑफ वॉर्स देयर वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, सच एज एंग्लो मराठा वॉर, और लेट्स से पलासी वॉर, बक्सर वॉर, the Carnatic wars, Anglo-Mysore wars, Anglo-Maratha wars, Anglo-Sikh wars. These are couple of areas which are very important. Fine. So एक ये पार्ट है जो इंपॉर्टेंट। so, क्या है, कौन से पावर्स है, क्योंकि आपने किसको हराया कॉलोनाइज करने के लिए, उससे पहले ये तो जानना जरूरी है कि आप वो लोग हैं कौन, कितने पावर को एंजॉय करते हैं वो लोग। and that's really important to understand. Then it comes to the process of colonization, the process of colonization. That is the second part, right? Third, it comes to the post colonization, right? So post colonization is about what? The post colonization is about the various policies, fine, the various policies, as in about the passing of various acts, part of their policy, or else about the various policies what they had been following for India. So basically colonization is equivalent to multiple policies, ठीक है. Either it may be the political policy, it may be economic policy, it may be even social policy and the cultural policy. बहुत सारी चीजें ऐसी है जिसका जो है सिर्फ जो है पॉलिटी और इकोनॉमी से लेना देना है. You might have heard of Lax Loki Act or the Religious Disability Act like 1850. Now it is an act which is coming all because of like colonizing, or let's say like facilitating, I must say, what the conversion, right? So that's how it is coming. So always keep in mind that it's not about that, right? So that's how we can say that there are certain policies which are there. So this is one part where we study like colonization, but then the colonization should be understood with respect to this, ठीक है. In fact हम एक और part यहीं पे ले सकते हैं, and that is what like that is basically like what are the impacts of colonization, right? What are the impacts of colonization? Now again, when it comes to the impacts of colonization, now there must be some sort of political impact, ठीक है. Okay, then what is like what the impact of the policies I have been discussing? Undoubtedly there must be some economic impacts, ठीक है. Then must be some social and कल्चरल इम्पैक्ट जैसे मान लीजिए आप बात करते हैं, इन्होंने पूछा भी एक बार कि साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी में किस तरीके के इंप्रूवमेंट रहे, ठीक है. कभी आपने सोचा नहीं, सिलेबस में दिया हुआ है, बट देन यू नेवर थॉट कि लाइक दे मे आस्क दिस काइंड ऑफ क्वेश्चन आल्सो, दो इट इज अगेन लिंक्ड टू सम अदर डेवलपमेंट्स व्हिच आर टेकिंग प्लेस इन हिस्ट्री राइट नाउ, और हिस्ट्री राइटिंग राइट नाउ. So if you understand history like more precisely, in that case you'll be able to understand. So when it comes to the first part of Indian history, it's about basically the colonization, right? So colonization must be understood with respect to this. Fine. After colonization, there is another part which is important, and what is it? Like the transformation of India. Fine. Now this is what part? Like this is the transition coming to India. The second part is about the transition. Fine. Now this transition can be noticed in multiple domains, and it is not necessarily always linked to this. Even beyond that, you should develop this habit of seeing the transition, right? So as I have already told you the political transition, okay? But political transition, since it is very deeply connected or the linked with the colonization, and that's how हम तो उसको वहां पे पढ़ लेंगे, ठीक है. इकोनॉमिक भी हम मोरलेस मान के चलते हैं कि हम वहां पे पढ़ लेंगे, ठीक है. लेकिन इसके अलावा जो है देयर आर सर्टेन सोशल एंड कल्चरल ट्रांजिशंस, राइट? सोशल एंड कल्चरल ट्रांजिशंस which are there, and they are very important. So the way you see the social reformation movement, and in fact social reformation movement is not something which is directly related to all these fellows, only couple of fellows. It is much more wide. हिंदू सोशल रिफॉर्मेशन अलग है, इस्लामिक सोशल रिफॉर्मेशन अलग है, पारसी का अलग है, ठीक है. सो रूरल एरिया में अलग है, अर्बन एरिया में अलग है, तो इसको हम बहुत अलग तरीके से देख सकते हैं. तो देयर कैन बी ए बिगर इंटरप्रिटेशन और देयर कैन बी ए ग्रेटर इंटरप्रिटेशन फॉर दिस, राइट? एंड दैट्स हाउ लाइक द वे आई हैड बीन डिस्कसिंग कि द वे इंडिया इज हैविंग ए सॉर्ट ऑफ ट्रांजिशन, कल्चरल ट्रांजिशन. द वे यू सी इंडियन एजुकेशन सिस्टम इज going through a change, right? Apart from that, apart from Indian education system, we can say press is a very important change, ठीक है. We can say science and tech is a very important change which is happening, because India was not much into this, but you here after you start finding all these kind of things. So here also there are multiple changes are there, and as per the syllabus you need to cover up cover couple of dimensions, rather than we can say बहुत तरीके के changes है. Of course when it comes to let's say like social reformation movement, now social reformation movement was also a result of a social transition which was happening, ठीक है. Social transition as in the way in India you see the process of Sanskritization, right? What is Sanskritization? Sanskritization में मतलब आप एक social transition, एक social जो है mobility आपको दिखाई देती है, and sometimes you never focus on these kind of things कि how come Indian society was mobile. Again the colonial rule is playing a very important role, but सारा credit आप colonial rule को नहीं दे सकते, है ना? जिस तरीके से army jobs create होती हैं, there are some lucrative areas specifically for it was a lucrative area for the lower caste people. They are having job in the in the army, and that's how they were having better income, and once they're having better income, they are going for some sort of social mobility. So it's also something which is connected with that. ठीक है, तो बहुत सारी चीजें हैं यहाँ पे जिसको हम संस्कृताइजेशन कहते हैं यूजुअली, हेमंत श्रीवास्तव का आइडिया. सो मतलब इंडिया में बियॉन्ड कॉलोनाइजेशन और बियॉन्ड कॉलोनियल रूल यू कैन फाइंड सम सोशल ट्रांजिशन इज देयर. And of course, colonization is playing one impetus, right? As a role of impetus. But it does not mean you have to give the whole credit to them only, right? Because when it comes to education system, हम blindly कई बार हम बोलते हैं कि जो है यार वो वेस्टर्न एजुकेशन इसके लिए कॉन्ट्रीब्यूट, इसका सबसे अहम रोल है. बट ऐसा नहीं कि सिर्फ वेस्टर्न एजुकेशन का ही रोल है, इसके और भी बहुत सारी चीजें हैं. हम एजुकेशन में जब बात करेंगे विल जस्ट ट्राई टू डिस्कस अबाउट दैट. फाइन. सो दिस ट्रांजिशन इज ऑल्सो वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. देन इट कम्स टू द नेक्स्ट पार्ट, राइट? एंड व्हाट इज दिस नेक्स्ट पार्ट? In the next part, we can say now we can go for the freedom movement. We can go for the freedom movement. Now, freedom movement, as I told you, this is just a sort of part of it, right? So, freedom movement again, freedom movement, as I told you, that it is just a part of modern India. Okay. Of course, about civil services are also there, right? So, apart from this, I mean to say this freedom movement, there are so many other developments are also happening that could be kept here, such as I'm just giving one example. When you talk about the rise of fundamentalism in India or the emergence of fundamentalism in India, now fundamentalism is something which is not directly connected to this. हाँ ठीक है, हम अक्सर ये कह देते हैं कि डिवाइड एंड रूल, ठीक है, बट आपको लगता है कि अंग्रेज was or the English people were having or the colonizers were having a policy of divide and rule? Is it all sufficient to explain the communalism in India? Is it all sufficient to explain the fundamentalism coming in India? Whereas the fundamentalism can be noticed from multiple aspects, right? It cannot be studied only with respect to the Muslim community. Now, if you see the Muslim fundamentalism, in the same case you can find the Hindu fundamentalism also. 1915 में भाई हिंदू महासभा फॉर्म हो गई, 1925 में जाके आरएसएस फॉर्म हो रही है, हिंदू महासभा स्ट्रेंथन हो रही है, ठीक है, तो वो भी एक पार्ट है. तो कम्युनलिज्म इज देयर, राइट? Fine. So what I'm trying to say कि in this period also, what you see as the Indian freedom movement, right? There are so many things partially connected with the freedom movement, partially not connected with the freedom movement, right? Ultimately, you find that several things are happening. But in freedom movement, within the freedom movement also, there are a couple of things that you need to keep in mind. Sometimes when it comes to the freedom movement, we always focus more on one person that's called as Gandhi. Somehow we are more obsessed with the Gandhi. Again, we are not obsessed with the Gandhi. The history was being written in such a way that we are obsessed with the Gandhi. ठीक है, we became obsessed with the Gandhi. ये प्रॉब्लम है, और यही है मॉडर्न इंडिया में हिस्ट्री राइटिंग क्या बहुत बड़ा कंट्रीब्यूशन, बहुत बड़ा मतलब बहुत बड़ा कंट्रीब्यूशन है. ये एक ऐसी चीज है विदाउट अंडरस्टैंडिंग द process of history writing of modern India, somehow you won't be able to do, or you won't be able to justify your understanding of modern India ever. I can bet on that, right? जब तक आपको क्रिस्टल क्लियर आइडिया नहीं है हिस्टोरियोग्राफी का. अब ये हिस्टोरियोग्राफी का आइडिया का मतलब ये कभी भी नहीं है कि आप ईच एंड एवरी यू हैव बीन नोइंग ईच एंड एवरी हिस्टोरियन, बिल्कुल भी नहीं, मैं कभी नहीं कह रहा. पर आपको प्रोसेस समझ में आना चाहिए. जैसे मैंने कहा आपसे एक बात कही माइकल फूको के बारे में, और माइकल फूको की जो बात है व्हेन ही कनेक्ट्स पावर विथ नॉलेज, एंड दिस इज समथिंग व्हिच इज व्हिच कैन बी अप्लाइड टू द कॉलोनियल हिस्ट्री राइटिंग, ठीक है, which can be applied to the colonial history writing. So that's how, जैसे एक आइडिया है जिसके थ्रू हम colonial history writing को समझ सकते हैं. अगर आपको लगता है कि वो आइडियाज जो है 2-3 स्टेप के बाद जाके रुक गई, ऐसा नहीं है. that process is continuously on. That also we'll discuss in the same session itself, right? So freedom movement is not only about Gandhi, it's also beyond Gandhi. And in fact, what we can say कि they we can simply say other voices, ठीक है. So after covering the Gandhian movement, I always get into the other voice, and in fact, I dedicate good amount of time to the other voices, such as the moment you talk about the role of peasants, the role of workers, the role of women, the role of foreigners, the role of the role of fundamentalists, the role of left, right, the role of revolutionaries. There are the role of Muslims, ठीक है. सो बहुत लंबी कहानी है. तो जो पैरेलल वॉइस है वो ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है, और क्यों इंपॉर्टेंट है वो भी मैं प्रूव करूंगा कि पैरेलल वॉइस हमारे लिए क्यों इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाता है. आई जस्ट प्रूव एवरीथिंग, ठीक है, एंड आई ट्राई टू शो यू दैट हाउ ऑल दीज काइंड ऑफ थिंग्स हैड स्टार्टेड इंपैक्टिंग योर पेपर. सो दैट्स हाउ यू शुड अंडरस्टैंड इट. सो सम अदर वॉइसेस आर देयर. फाइन. So after the freedom movement, we get into what? We get into the fourth part, and this part has also become very important. And what is this part? This is we can say post-independence. Post-independence. Now this is one of the part which remain quite ignored by the students. बट मुझे लगता है कि ये पार्ट आपको इग्नोर नहीं करना चाहिए, ठीक है। और पोस्ट इंडिपेंडेंस को यू शुड ऑलवेज टेक इट वेरी सीरियसली। इसके बड़े फायदे हैं, ठीक है, इसके बहुत फायदे हैं पोस्ट इंडिपेंडेंस के। नाउ व्हेन इट कम्स टू द पोस्ट इंडिपेंडेंस, ठीक है, समटाइम्स वी बिलीव दैट वी जस्ट नीड टू स्टडी द नेहरूवियन एरा, राइट, वी जस्ट नीड टू स्टडी द नेहरूवियन एरा। नेहरूवियन एरा में कुछ पॉलिटिकल चेंज हुए, कुछ इकोनॉमिक हुए, कुछ सोशल हुए, कुछ कल्चरल हुए, ये सारे कुछ चेंजेस होते हैं, हमें सिर्फ ये पढ़ना। But then it should not be studied in that like with that perspective. Rather, it should be studied in this way. That is, or those years were basically the foundation of India. So that's how, if you understand those 15 years carefully, or let's say 17, 18 years carefully, in that case, somehow you would be in a condition to understand the future developments in a better way that could help you somehow to understand that, that would help you somehow to understand the further developments. When you have been reading the history of India, Indian economy, और let's say for that matter इंडियन पॉलिटी, आप वो सारी चीजें तब तक नहीं समझ पाएंगे, या इंडियन सोसाइटी, ये सारी चीजें आप तब तक नहीं समझ पाएंगे जब तक आपका पोस्ट इंडिपेंडेंस में यू आर हैविंग ए सॉर्ट ऑफ गुड कंट्रोल, ठीक है। तो ये पार्ट है, इसको सिर्फ आप इस तरीके से मत देखिए कि जो है इट इज देयर एज पार्ट ऑफ द ऑप्शनल सिलेबस। It is somehow that part which is going to build the other areas of general studies as well, and that's why you should read it very carefully. That's number one. Number two, which is more important for us, if you'll see the question paper, you will find that gradually the numbers of the questions coming from this part is increasing. पहले एक क्वेश्चन आते थे, आजकल 3-3 क्वेश्चन भी पूछ लेते। कैन यू इमेजिन? सो आउट ऑफ how many questions, ठीक है, is 9 and 5, 14 questions. Let's say if out of 14 questions, they're asking 2 to 3 questions from post independence, so you can't ignore it. So this is another part which is a very much part of section which is very much part of modern India, and by any chance you can't ignore it, so you need to take it seriously. So when it comes to the history of modern India, it's about that. That is one thing that you need to keep in mind, right? Apart from this, there is another part, section, not section, matlab as not part of syllabus. There's something else, which is also quite important for your understanding of modern India, and that's being called as historiography. Historiography. Historiography is not about knowing the name of so many historians, okay? It's not about knowing the name of so many historians. It's also not about writing those names in your answer script. Historiography is something which is somehow helping you to locate the subject properly. That's the significance. Somehow in paper 2, precisely modern India, there is more application of historiography. And do you know why? Because you'll find that majority of the questions coming in this particular side, they are statement based question. They are statement based question. So whenever it comes to these statements, right, ultimately it must be given by some historians, okay? If it is a statement, they must be given by some historian. That's number one. Even though if it's not being given by historian, and sometimes the person who is framing the question, now that person himself or herself is framing a statement. But then you should understand that this framing of statement is always based on the idea conceived by a particular scholar, right? So sometimes if it is framed by the person, right, then also it is inspired by some historian. हिस्ट्री की एक बेसिक बात तो मैं हमेशा कहता हूं कि ऐसा नहीं होता है कि हम जीएस की तरह एक रैंडम सवाल पूछते। मेरे मन में एक ख्याल आया, ठीक है, मेरे मन में एक ख्याल आया, पूछो उसको। जैसे इस बार यूपीएससी प्री का पेपर बना था, है ना, कि मेरे मन में क्या मीम्स बन रहे उसके ऊपर, कि जो है अचानक से सोते हुए किसी को यार इस बार का यूपीएससी का पेपर बनना है, ठीक है, बना दिया पेपर। तो ऐसा नहीं होता है कि दे आर नॉट, हिस्ट्री में इट डजंट हैपन इन दिस वे, राइट? Let's say if I'm getting the chance to make the paper, maybe I'm making a question, right? The question which is based on some historian's idea, because I cannot create the ideas, okay? I cannot, even though if I'm having a specialization in modern, I'm having the specialization in modern, luckily. So अगर मेरी मॉडर्न में स्पेशलाइजेशन है, तब भी ऐसा नहीं हुआ कि मेरे मन में एक सवाल आया और मैंने उसको क्वेश्चन बना दिया। ऐसा नहीं हो सकता, इम्पॉसिबल, नेक्स्ट टू इम्पॉसिबल। So either it is based on my understanding of the subject, ठीक है, that I have read somewhere, that I have, like, if I have done a research on some area, तो मेरा area of research है, तो I can frame a question if it is matching with the syllabus, right? अगर नहीं है, so in that case I need to refer the work of others, और मैं उनके काम के बेस के ऊपर एक स्टेटमेंट फ्रेम कर सकता हूं, उसको रीफ्रेम कर सकता हूं और उसको मैं क्वेश्चन में दे दूं. Moral of this idea, moral of the story is this: कि ultimately they all are what? Ultimately taken from the, like, some historian. So that's how historiography is, like, something which plays very important role in this modern India. So you have to keep in mind or we have to study the history of modern India with respect to this. Fine. Okay. Historiography we have already discussed. I'm just, like, trying to remind it first. So you know that, like, the initial history writing was which one? The colonial, like, was colonial. That's called as imperial also, right? And I did tell you that even in the recent times, some scholars, like, are writing with the same perspective, and that's being called as what? Like, that's called as the Cambridge School of History Writing. ठीक है, तो ऐसा नहीं कि वो खत्म हो गया, लेकिन मैंने यहाँ पे कहा, एक चीज आपसे कही कि जो है यहाँ पे देयर इज, लाइक, यू नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड इट वेरी केयरफुली, that whenever it comes to, like, their history writing, first of all undoubtedly they are biased, इसमें कोई डाउट नहीं है, बट उसकी biases को आप नॉन हिस्टोरिकल नहीं कह सकते. Ultimately they are historical. Why? Because they are following the pattern, right, of history writing that we have already, like, discussed. हमने पहले भी बात की कि जब आप बात करते हैं हिस्ट्री राइटिंग की, तो बायस बहुत सारे लोग हैं, बस इसका मतलब कभी भी ये नहीं होता कि हम उनके आइडियाज को इग्नोर कर देंगे, ठीक है, क्योंकि वो बायस्ड है. They have also followed the pattern or the process of history writing, and that's how, like, they are very much part of the history, right? So you can't ignore it. So that in that regard, like, they are still yet very important. In fact, modern India में इनकी importance और भी ज्यादा है. क्यों importance ज्यादा है? कभी आपको, आप उसको इस तरीके से देख लेते हैं, ठीक है. Let's say the moment you talk about this colonial history writing, ठीक है, ultimately the way I'm telling you, like, they are giving a sort of biased idea. So basically they have misinterpreted, right? They have misinterpreted so many things. So it may be asked in form of a question. Matlab, their misinterpretation may be asked in form of question. Because whenever it comes to the colonial writers, like, you must understand, or you must, like, somehow assimilate this idea that while writing the history of India, they have done so many things. I did tell you that not only they were writing the history of India, rather at the same time they had been trying to define India in their own way. And sometimes their, like, their idea, the way they conceived India, became so much authentic that it yet continues. ठीक है. जब भी आप बात आती है कास्ट की, ठीक है, the way we try to understand caste, ठीक है, we cannot understand caste without the study of Nicholas B. Dux, ठीक है. तो बहुत सारे ऐसे आइडियाज हैं जो उन्होंने फ्रेम कर दिए, और हम आज तक बाहर थोड़ी आ पाए उस आइडिया से, ठीक है. हम कोशिश करें, we're trying very hard, बट अभी तक मुझे लगता है कि देयर आर, लाइक, सो मच स्ट्रगल विच इज लेफ्ट इन ऑर्डर टू कम आउट फ्रॉम दैट. So what I'm trying to tell you, that in order to write, or while writing about India, not only they were writing the history of India, but at the same time they had been creating a sort of what, a knowledge, an authentic knowledge of India, and over the period that becomes the authentic knowledge of India. अब एक बात बताए, उन्होंने 19th सेंचुरी के बिगिनिंग में, या फिर 20th सेंचुरी के बिगिनिंग में जब उन्होंने लिखा, 19th सेंचुरी के बिगिनिंग में मान लेते हैं, तो पूरा 100 साल तो सिर्फ उन्हीं की राइटिंग रही, और जब उनकी राइटिंग रही तो जाहिर सी बात है, एक राइटिंग जो 100 साल तक डोमिनेट करेगी, तो जाहिर सी बात है ओवर द पीरियड दैट वुड बिकम द ऑथेंटिक नॉलेज. तो आपके पेपर में कैसे रिफ्लेक्ट करता है कि एक स्टेटमेंट अगर इनका दिया, तो हमें काउंटर आइडिया लिखना है, उसका 100% लिखना है काउंटर आइडिया, बट स्टेटमेंट तो यहां से पिक हो ही सकती है. स्टेटमेंट तो यहां से पिक हो ही सकती है, क्योंकि अगर मुझे आपको एक ऐसा सवाल देना है जो एक ऑपोजिट डायरेक्शन की बात कर रहा है, या ऑपोजिट डायमेंशन की बात कर रहा है, तो मुझे तो कॉलोनियल स्कॉलर्स के आइडियाज उठाने पड़ेंगे, या इंपीरियल, या जिसको आप कहते हैं कैम्ब्रिज, क्योंकि ऐसा, लाइक, इट हैजंट स्टॉप्ड इटसेल्फ, राइट, इट इज स्टिल गोइंग ऑन. एंड इनफैक्ट बहुत सारे इंडियन स्कॉलर्स भी है जो कॉलोनियल पर्सपेक्टिव से लिखते हैं. धर्मा कुमार, ठीक है, द कैम्ब्रिज इकोनॉमिक हिस्ट्री ऑफ इंडिया. Now, like, Dharma Kumar's book, this is, like, precisely being written with what? The Cambridge perspective. नाम ही इसका Cambridge Economic History of India. ठीक है, या मेघनाथ देसाई की किताब है, या धर्मा कुमार की किताब है, वो आइडियाज अभी भी है, और इनफैक्ट, लाइक, दैट मस्ट बी केप्ट समवेयर, लाइक, इन माय लाइब्रेरी, धर्मा कुमार की जो किताब है. सो बेसिकली यू मस्ट अंडरस्टैंड वन थिंग, कि दे आर राइटिंग समथिंग. तो हम इसको ये नहीं कह सकते सर वो तो बहुत पुरानी बात है, हम छोड़ देते हैं ना, उसको क्यों पकड़ के बैठना. उसको इसलिए पकड़ के बैठना क्योंकि हमारे लिए थ्रेड निकलेंगे, वहां से क्वेश्चन के थ्रेड निकलेंगे, इसलिए पकड़ के बैठते हैं उसको, ठीक है. देन इट कम्स टू द नेक्स्ट स्कूल, लाइक, विच इज व्हाट, लाइक, दैट इज द नेशनल स्कूल ऑफ हिस्ट्री राइटिंग. That's the National School of History Writing. that is the nationalist school, right? Nationalist school. Exactly the same thing I can say for this also, right? For the nationalist school also. Fine. Nationalist school के साथ क्या है? They are not they biased? Of course they are biased, right? Of course they are biased, because at least those who had been writing during the period of Indian colonization, I think they were also under some sort of compulsion, right? They had to go for such sort of writing which could facilitate the birth of Indian nationalism, the genesis of Indian nationalism, and until and unless they glorify India, it was not possible. So it was their compulsion also that the kind of history being written by them, they were also quite biased, and that's why we cannot, like, the way we talk about them, similarly we need to talk about them also, right? है वो भी थोड़ी बायसेस है, बट इम्पैक्ट अगर हम दोनों को इम्पैक्ट फैक्टर को काउंट करेंगे तो कहीं ना कहीं इनका इम्पैक्ट फैक्टर जो है वो ज्यादा होगा, ये बहुत सारे रीजन से ज्यादा होगा, ठीक है? तो नेशनलिज्म, ये आइडियाज भी बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. अगेन आई कैन नॉट से कि व्हाटसोएवर दे हैव डिस्कस्ड, राइट, व्हाटसोएवर दे हैव डिस्कस्ड, दे ऑल आर करेक्ट, बट एटलीस्ट वी कैन से कि अगेन, लाइक यू नो, as per the impact factor, they are more impactful than imperial writers, right, or the Cambridge writers. But at the same time, like, we should keep in mind कि, like, the threads are coming out even from here with respect to this नेम ऑफ लेखन कृष्ण, धर्मा कुमार है, मेघनाथ देसाई है, ठीक है, दीज सब आएगा, सब आएगा. आई जस्ट लाइक नो क्या कहते हैं, मैं मॉडर्न इंडिया खोल के रख दूंगा, ठीक है, लाइक एवरीथिंग विल बी क्रिस्टल क्लियर, ठीक है. बहुत साल दिए हैं मॉडर्न इंडिया को, बहुत साल दिए हैं, ठीक है. हाउ मेनी इयर्स, लाइक आई स्टार्टेड रीडिंग मॉडर्न इंडिया फ्रॉम 2000, मेरे स्पेशलाइजेशन इन मॉडर्न इंडिया, so 2006, right? So तब से लेके मॉडर्न इंडिया ही. So modern India is something which is what to say, मतलब वो है, वो कहते हैं ना, जीता हूँ खाता हूँ, वो वाला स्टाइल है मॉडर्न इंडिया को लेके. तो I'll expose everything, don't worry, ठीक है. So national school is there. So national school is also something which is, like, very important, and in fact, like, in the same way it is more important. I believe it is somehow, like, it is having greater importance than the previous school. Okay. Then it comes to, like, the third school, and what is this? This is the Marxist school. ये सब आपको आता है, ठीक है, I know. Marxist school, right? When it comes to the Marxist school, since you know the crux, gist of the Marxist school, right? And what is it? Now they always, like, try to give an economic interpretation. They always try to give an what? Economic interpretation of economic interpretation of everything, right? But then you should always understand, of course, they have seen this whole modern India or the history of modern India. They have written the history of modern India with that particular perspective. But then I guess you should understand it quite carefully. You must be understanding it beautifully, I must say, कि what part of history would be emphasized by them. कौन से पार्ट को ज्यादा emphasize करेंगे, ठीक है? Somehow we'll find that they are emphasizing more on which part? The economic history of modern India, right? So the economic history, है ना? So when it comes to the economic history of modern India, you may find one thing, when it comes to debate, such as when it comes to deindustrialization, when it comes to commercialization of agriculture, when it comes to growth of agriculture, or whatsoever topic you talk about, बहुत सारे हैं, ठीक है? Drain of wealth is there. These are some major ones, but then minor ones are also there. So आपको बहुत obviously बात तो समझ में आती होगी कि the moment it comes to, like, economic history, इनका वो होता है ना, जब आपका फेवरेट सब्जेक्ट आ जाता है, जब जो आप बहुत पसंद करते हैं, तो उसमें आप सब कुछ खोल के रख देते हैं, ठीक है? मतलब you just try to expose everything. And that's the reason, because of what the moment it comes to economic history of India, like, honestly speaking, these people are going for beautiful writing. जब हम अकेडमिकली पढ़ते हैं सब्जेक्ट को, लेकिन इसमें सिंस वी गो मोस्टली फॉर द डिबेट्स, ठीक है, वी मोस्टली गो फॉर द डिबेट, और इकोनॉमिक हिस्ट्री इज वन ऑफ द मोस्ट इंटरेस्टिंग पार्ट. इकोनॉमिक हिस्ट्री इज वन ऑफ द मोस्ट इंटरेस्टिंग पार्ट. व्हाई? बिकॉज यू स्टार्ट एंजॉयिंग इट. डिबेट ऐसे, जैसे जब मॉरिस और बिपिन चंद्रा के बीच में जो डिबेट चल रही है, ठीक है, डी इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन को लेके, और वो इतना इंटरेस्टिंग पार्ट है, ठीक है, जब जिसने बिपिन चंद्रा ने लिखा कि इंडिया में डी इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन है, तो मॉरिस ने एक पेपर लिखा और काउंटर आर्गुमेंट्स दिए. उसने कहा कि जो है नहीं, वो नहीं है, ठीक है, नहीं है. उसने लॉजिकली प्रूव किया. बिपिन चंद्र ने फिर एक आर्टिकल लिखा, ठीक है, उसने कहा कि नहीं, देखो ये तुम गलत कह रहे हो कि है. मॉरिस ने फिर एक आर्टिकल लिखा, उसने कहा कि देखो नहीं है. तो ये जो कहानी है ना, ये कुछ मुझे लगता है कि ये दोनों के बीच में जो ये आइडियोलॉजिकल कॉन्फ्लिक्ट है, ये 2 डिकेड तक चलती है ना। तो ये ऐसे बहुत सारे पार्ट्स में मिलेंगे आपको जहां पे एक रेगुलर कॉन्फ्लिक्ट चलता है। तो इंटरेस्टिंग है, इट्स अनडाउटेडली वेरी मच इंटरेस्टिंग। सो एक तो है कि व्हेन इट कम्स टू द राइटिंग इकोनॉमिक हिस्ट्री ऑफ इंडिया, अनडाउटेडली दे हैव गॉन फॉर ब्यूटीफुल राइटिंग एंड इनफैक्ट दे आर प्रीटी इंटरेस्टिंग, ठीक है। तो ये सारी चीजें हैं, वो तो बात सही है अपनी जगह पर इसका ये मतलब नहीं कि द मार्क्सिस्ट स्कॉलर्स आर नॉट राइटिंग द लाइक राइटिंग अबाउट द इंडियन फ्रीडम मूवमेंट। But then somehow I find there is one lacuna with their writing ki everywhere they have tried to fit this idea of idea of economy. When it comes to nationalism, it is an it is basically a feeling, it is it is an emotion. तो जब आप इमोशन की बात आती है, इमोशन में जो है शायद वो नहीं देखे जाते हैं, इकोनॉमिक रिलेशंस नहीं देखे जाते हैं। तो मुझे लगता है कि वहां पे शायद बहुत अप्रोप्रिएट नहीं है मॉडर्न ये मार्क्सिस्ट राइटिंग, राइट। So, but even though they have written it, and frankly speaking, most of the books that you guys are reading, that they were mostly being written by whom? Either let's say economic Marxist scholars, or sometimes we also call it for our convenience nationalist Marxist, हम उसको कह लेते हैं, ठीक है। तो हम उनके किताबें पढ़ते हैं, बट उनका जो थोड़ा तरीका है इंटरप्रिटेशन का, कहीं ना कहीं एक अपनी तरीके की बायसेस है। मैंने कहा इकोनॉमिक हिस्ट्री में तो विदाउट एनी डाउट दे आर एक्सेलिंग, ठीक है, उसमें तो कोई डाउट ही नहीं। But apart from that, when it comes to the rest of the areas, somehow they are having some lacunas in their interpretation. So that limitation you should also keep in mind. Though they dominated for long long period of time, roughly around 4 decades. For 4 decades, Marxist history writing had dominated. But I must say you one thing, because of their attitude, when it comes to modern India, it's getting concentrated into this economic history. ठीक है, अगेन आई एम रिपीटिंग दिस पॉइंट कि 4 डिकेड के उनके डोमिनेंस की वजह से कहीं ना कहीं इंडियन हिस्ट्री में जो है मॉडर्न इंडिया में वो जो एक नैरो डाउन हो रहा है, एक जो कॉन्सेंट्रेशन हो रहा है इकोनॉमिक हिस्ट्री की तरफ ज्यादा हो रहा है। नाउ इट हैज स्टार्टेड, मॉडर्न इंडियन हिस्ट्री हैज स्टार्टेड कमिंग आउट ऑफ दिस, ठीक है। ये बहुत बड़ा चेंज है मॉडर्न इंडियन स्टडीज में। सो नाउ इट हैज स्टार्टेड फ्रीइंग इटसेल्फ, एंड आई विल डिस्कस दैट हाउ इट्स फ्रीइंग इटसेल्फ, फाइन। दस निकोलस भी डर्क्स कृष्णा, ठीक है, अरे सब करेंगे, सब कास्ट में हम कास्ट करते हैं अलग से, ठीक है, विल डू इट, डोंट वरी, ठीक है। ओके, fourth is one of the revolutionary change coming in Indian history writing, and that's coming from what? That's coming from the subaltern, ठीक है। So it was now being called as subaltern. So it was basically subaltern था ये, ठीक है, basically sub-alternative है. This was the real word that had been minimized now, and in short we started calling this subaltern history writing, that originally took birth in Italy. There was one person that's called as Antonio Gramsci who wrote the Jail Diary and Prison's Notebook, ठीक है, that also must be there somewhere here. तो प्रिजन्स नोटबुक उन्होंने किताब लिखी और बड़े जो है रेवोल्यूशनरी आइडियाज को उन्होंने बताया। And he simply said कि why to read the history of only 2% people who were there in a powerful situation or powerful position? Why not to read the history of the rest 98%? Because of course, if you have been reading the history of society, in that case, you need to focus more on which part? You need to focus more on the rest of the 98%. That's what he said. And in history, it was very much impactful, and that's how not only in the European history, Europe में तो काफी पहले शुरू हुआ, people have started writing the history with a subaltern perspective. Even in India also, people have started writing the history with a subaltern perspective, but that comes slightly late 1980s with the coming of Ranjit Guha. Ultimately it started. Ranjit Guha died a few years back. So yeah, it has started. Then it was followed by some other scholars also, one book that you read so much for modern India, that's called as Sekhar Bandyopadhyay. In fact, that's also more or less inspired by this subaltern studies, and in fact he himself writes that he's pretty much inspired by Sumit Sarkar, and Sumit Sarkar is known for writing the book on modern India from this subaltern perspective. So 90s के बाद जो है आप देखेंगे कि subaltern perspective, subaltern Ranjit Guha जब आते हैं, started this subaltern studies series, and there was so many volumes of subaltern studies got published. So of course he is the pioneer of that, right, Ranjit Guha, and but उसके बाद में बहुत लोगों ने उसको फॉलो किया, रणजीत गुहा को। Now, subaltern studies, as I did tell you, that this is the school, like, which is emphasizing on what, like, which is emphasizing on the, let's say, the history of what? The history of those segments which have been marginalized yet in history writing. In history writing, I must tell you. तो जिनको हिस्ट्री राइटिंग में हमने इग्नोर किया, अब ये जरूरी नहीं है कि a like a rich person cannot fall or a powerful person cannot fall in this category. If even a powerful person can fall in the category of subaltern, such as, let me tell you, Subhash Chandra Bose, है ना, पावरफुल नेता है, एम्बिशियस लीडर है, ठीक है, एंड देन अनडाउटेडली unparalleled contribution to Indian freedom movement, ठीक है. It's not necessary that whatever you do, ultimately you come up with some sort of positive result. That's a very different thing. वो एकदम अलग कहानी है ना, वो एकदम अलग कहानी है. सो आप याद रखिए कि उनका कंट्रीब्यूशन बहुत है. या फिर लाइक नो व्हेन इट कम्स टू अंबेडकर, now when it comes to Ambedkar's, his contribution is also like unparalleled. बट क्या होता है कि अंबेडकर हैं, बोस हैं, दे ऑलवेज रिमेन मार्जिनलाइज्ड. जिस तरीके से हमने देखा ना कि हमें लगता है कि अंबेडकर का रोल फ्रीडम मूवमेंट में कितना है, लेकिन मुझे लगता है कि अंबेडकर के बिना दैट पर्टिकुलर वर्ड फ्रीडम इटसेल्फ इज नॉट कंप्लीटेड. जिसको आप कहते हैं ना कि इंडिया विंस इट्स इंडिपेंडेंस ऑन 1947, आई थिंक दैट फ्रीडम वुड बी ऑलवेज इनकम्प्लीट विदाउट द कॉन्ट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ दिस पर्सन. So why do you see the freedom only with respect to basically the freedom from colonization? You need to see it from a like freedom in all dimensions, in all aspects basically. So that's why they are very important. But then how much space they were being given in modern India? Unfortunately, both remained ignored for a very long period of time, right? And then people like Ambedkar and all, they also remain very much ignored, specifically in history writing. Of course, when it comes to polity, so by any chance you can't ignore, you can't even dare to ignore Bose, sorry, Ambedkar. So that is so practically not possible. But you understand this point. Subaltern, मतलब ये भी आते हैं subaltern में, है ना? Subaltern भी. Revolutionaries, they are also falling in the category of subaltern. Now we never counted the real contribution of the revolutionaries. Revolutionaries का contribution मतलब it is beyond any match, I must say. When it comes to that idea of nationalism के भी बहुत सारे stages हैं. So nationalism को उस लेवल पे लेके जाना जहां पे sacrificing your life is also nothing for the country, that they are taking the nationalism to that level, right? उससे पहले जो वो है जो political movements कर रहे हैं, they are also nationalists, but they might not have even thought कि जो है हम देश के लिए जान देते. बट देन देश के लिए जान देना बिकेम ए सॉर्ट ऑफ नॉर्मल थिंग, कोई बहुत बड़ी कॉन्ट्रीब्यूशन नहीं. तो ये नेशनलिज्म को उस लेवल पे लेके जाते हैं. आप इसका कॉन्ट्रीब्यूशन किसी भी हिसाब से आप इसको माइनर नहीं कह सकते. बाय एनी चांस यू कांट कॉल इट. आज भी अगर द काइंड ऑफ नेशनलिज्म दैट वी पीपल आर कैरिंग विद अस, ठीक है, कि अगर इफ देयर इज एनी थ्रेट, एनी डेंजर, एनी प्रॉब्लम इन द कंट्री और ऑन द कंट्री, ठीक है, वी आर रेडी टू गो टू एनी एक्सटेंट, किसी भी लेवल पे हम जाने के लिए तैयार है. और इंडिया ने कई बार दिखाया है, एक बार नहीं कई बार दिखाया कि अगर देश खतरे में तो हम किसी भी लेवल पे जा सकते हैं. नेशनलिज्म को उतना अग्रेसिव बनाने का कंट्रीब्यूशन जो है वो रेवोल्यूशनरीज पे जाता है. अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट, देयर इज अ वेरी सिंपल एग्जांपल आई हैव बीन गिविंग यू, दैट्स अबाउट द पेजेंट्स. नाउ पेजेंट्स undoubtedly when it comes to Indian freedom movement, it is always incomplete without the peasants. Always incomplete without the peasants. When it comes to Gandhi, now we always see Gandhi as the Gandhi, but then of course the moment I say Gandhi, you always imagine Mahatma Gandhi, not the other one, right? So that is that is how he's called as the Gandhi. Fine. So the movement it's about the movement it's about Mahatma Gandhi. Now, how Gandhi becomes the Gandhi? Undoubtedly, there was a great number of followers of Gandhi, and in fact, that was majorly constituted by whom? The peasants and the workers, fine, and women as well. So basically, how to ignore their role? They are also important. They are equally important. This is the reason because of what I hope you must understand. How come the subaltern studies over the period had become so important? And that's from 1990 onwards, the history which was being written, that was mostly from the subaltern perspective, right? And the way I did tell you that the parallel voices, right, of the Indian freedom movement along with Congress and Gandhi, they have become quite important these days. I hope now you can understand ki how come they are becoming more and more important. So basically, now the Marxist history writing is something which does not remain so, what to say, prominent in the history writing of India, modern India. Rather, along with that, we can say that some other sort of history writing has also become more important. So this is the reason because of what I can say ki, history writing is going through a change. So due to the coming of these subaltern studies, there were there was a major shift in the study of Indian history writing, modern Indian history writing. And in fact, it was very much visible in your paper also, right? It's very much visible in your paper also, so that you can find one thing which is making the impact. But the story does not stop here. The story even goes further, and if you'll see the story which goes even further, in that case you may find that in the recent times there's something else which has become more important. And what is it? This can be said as basically the postmodernist writing, modernist, right? And within that you can talk about let's say one school which is a generic name of this history writing, that's called as revisionist school of history writing. Fine. When it comes to this revisionist school of history writing, now this has again changed the history writing of India, at least in last 2 decades. And in fact, it is also one of the schools of history writing which is having greater impact on your paper. In fact, first, the study of modern India, and then second, the UPSC paper as well. And that's how this is something which is becoming more and more important for you. Now, what is this revisionist writing? First of all, I must tell you, the moment it comes to the revisionist writing, don't try to think them in a particular framework. As in, framework as in, sometimes you see the nationalist writing, imperialist writing, the Marxist writing. Don't frame them in this particular way. Rather, we can say what is good to, or what is the good, way to see them. So I must say when it comes to their writing, they're not confining themselves in a particular boundary. Rather, they are opening up themselves. Postmodernism ka matlab hi hota hai deconstruction. Deconstruction matlab they just try to deconstruct everything rather than studying something in a defined boundary. Let's say when the imperialist people wrote, or the colonial people, the Cambridge people wrote, they had a defined boundary. So they had to write everything within that defined boundary. The same is very much true for the nationalist writing also. And it is something which is very much true for the Marxist writers also, right? So they all had been writing in a defined boundary, which is not correct for the revisionists. Rather, they are opening, or they are breaking these let's say boundaries, and they're writing as a, what to say, with a very free hand. And that's how more, what to say, you find a history which is having multiple, which is hunting into the multiple dimensions. That's how the things are being written right now. And in fact, in the modern days, I must say, in the modern times, I must say, these kind of writings have become quite important. Quite important, matlab more important. And I'm just giving you certain examples to somehow make you understand it in a better way. Let's say when it comes to when it comes to India, okay, let's understand the broader framework itself. Now, earlier, whatsoever authors had been writing, ultimately they were considering that India is one unit. Fine. Either you see the writing of Bipin Chandra, right? Or Sumit Sarkar or Sekhar Bandyopadhyay, they all have written in what way? They have written it in such way that India was one unit. But then do you really believe that it is possible for any scholar to write the history of India by considering India as one unit? How or why do you think that whatsoever changes were happening, or whatsoever impact of the colonial rule that you find in North India, it was equally applicable to South India, or it was equally applicable to eastern part of India? So it's not true, right? It is not true that you find all these parts you find that they were equally applicable. So these people simply question we should, you just try to merge it with the subaltern studies, and you just try to think it in this, try to think that how the history of India was being written. So basically, they are going for the regional history. They are getting into what? They are getting into the micro dimensions, right? So basically, due to this revisionist, once they're getting merged with the subaltern, now they are getting into what? The micro dimensions. So now history of modern India has gone through a sort of drastic change, and in fact, we can say the micro dimensions had become more important these days. Micro dimensions have become more important these days. So that's how you should see history with this revisionist view. And in fact, that is the reason because of what now you can find at least in last 4 or 5 years, there is drastic change in the nature of questions which are being asked in the UPSC. So basically these 5 schools that I have told you, right? And in fact, these 5 schools have become more important. Ab jab aap when you study modern India, so when it comes to let's say let's say economic history, now not the same old scholars are very important. Rather we can say Tirthankar Roy is very important. Amya Bagchi is very important. Sahid Amin is very important, right? So now a new set of scholars have become more important. अब सब Sahid Amin की आप बात करते हैं. Sahid Amin जो है वो गोरखपुर की स्टडी करते हैं. Either it is about political or economic history. He doesn't talk about the India as a whole. He is simply talking about one part of India and how it was perceiving Gandhi. So it is all about a different perception. अब जब चौरी चौरा है तो there cannot be only one way of understanding चौरी चौरा from the Gandhi's perspective. Now he got a very good writing that on Chauri Chaura that's called as event, metaphor and memory. Now it hasn't analyzed this particular event from the Gandhian perspective, whereas Gandhi ke perspective se what Bipin Chandra has written ki Gandhi, once he saw this violence and he was totally disheartened, and that's how he took this decision of start this movement. That's how you read. So you only read about the Gandhian perspective, what Gandhi thought, what Gandhi decided, that you have studied. Why don't you think it from the perspective of those people who took such a action, and why did they took it? They had been following Gandhi. In fact, maybe quite surprising for you, but then they had been burning the police station with these slogans, the Gandhi Baba ki jai, Mahatma ki jai. तो एक तरफ वो गांधी बाबा की जय और महात्मा की जय कर रहे हैं, दूसरी तरफ पुलिस स्टेशन जला रहे हैं और जो है वो गांधी के नाम पे जला रहे हैं. तो उनका अपना परसेप्शन क्या है? तो वो भी तो एक पर्सपेक्टिव हो सकता है ना देखने का. That may be also a perspective. How Gandhi was able to mobilize the peasants, okay, it's a good thing. And in fact, we have studied Judith Brown, we have studied Arnold, we have studied let's say Ravinder Kumar, we have studied all these scholars. ठीक है ना भाई, हमने पढ़ा है. लेकिन why did people decide to follow Gandhi? That is another perspective, right? So that's how the history writing is getting changed. Sahid Amin ने एकदम एक नया perspective दिया उसको. ठीक है. Economic history. As I told you, Tirthankar Roy, Amya Bagchi, these are the new scholars who are falling in the category of what? Revisionist school. अब ये लोग जो है, मैं ये नहीं कहता हूं कि आपको सारी हिस्ट्री, सारे हिस्टोरियंस के बारे में जानना है, बट प्लीज अंडरस्टैंड ना कि व्हाट इज देयर इंटेंशन, मतलब व्हाट इज द वे थ्रू व्हिच दे हैड बीन राइटिंग दिस हिस्ट्री. Tirthankar Roy is there, Amya Bagchi is there, there's a long speaker is there, ठीक है, there is a long list of such scholars who had been writing the history. अब वो बोलते कि let us not consider India as one unit and try to study India, rather let us understand India from the perspective of let's say only Madras. कि when it comes, when you talk about deindustrialization, what impact was there in Madras? Was it was Madras itself deindustrialized? And then sometimes answer is coming quite contradictory. Maybe some part of India got deindustrialized, but then there are a couple of parts which had either least impact of deindustrialization or else no impact of deindustrialization. So that's how we can say ki actually it can be viewed in a very different way. Fine. So that's how the history writing is changing. In fact, it's not applicable only in this area. When you talk about nationalism, when you talk about social reformation movement, when you talk about 1857, even in these topics, you can find that new writings are there. Have you ever analyzed 1857 from the woman perspective? What was the, there was one scholar called as Lata Singh. She has studied 1857 from the woman's perspective. Right? When it comes to, let's say, nationalism, when it comes to social reformation movement, Ashish Nandi, Partha Chatterjee, they have given a completely new dimension to the study of that. So what I'm trying to say that there are recent writings are very different, right, as compared to that same old writings, and in fact they have been getting into those micro dimensions, and that was quite that's very much impactful on your paper. So this is how we can say that the history writing itself of modern India has gone through a sort of drastic change in the transitions, right? And in fact, you need to have some idea about this. You need to have some idea about this, because the moment you'll see the paper, somehow you'll be able to realize how it is changing everything, right? How it is changing the questions. And in fact, if anybody suggests you that okay, you just be dependent on the POIQs, never ever become dependent on the POIQs. POIQs you can see, but मैं तो कहता हूँ कि सिर्फ 2019 के बाद के POIQs देखो तो आपको पता चलेगा कि वो dimensions कितने हैं. और अगर आप पीछे के POIQs देखते हैं, if you are somehow seeing the POIQs, you should have always this tendency of doing what, doing a comparison. कि अरे earlier what kind of questions are being asked and now what kind of questions are being asked. If anybody is suggesting you read the modern India from any notes, ठीक है, अपने पैर पे आप उसी समय कुल्हाड़ी मार रहे हैं. आई एम टेलिंग यू, ट्रस्ट मी, अपने पैर पे आप उसी समय कुल्हाड़ी मार रहे हैं, क्योंकि नहीं चलेगा ये. बिकॉज when you are reading any notes, impossible that any notes can cover like everything, the kind of questions which are being asked. And for that matter, you can bring any notes to me, like I can show you that before the paper whether they were were they covered by them. So it's frankly speaking, when it comes to the way you find the change in the modern India, in fact, for that matter, I must say any book cannot be sufficient. You all are praising Shekhar Bandyopadhyay. I also do praise a lot Shekhar Bandyopadhyay. It's a beautiful book, beautiful book. मुझे नॉवल लगती है वो किताब, मुझे नॉवल लगती है वो किताब. But then is it sufficient to write or answer the questions? Unless you cover history from this multiple dimensions, specifically of modern India, now you wouldn't be able to you even get into these micro dimensions, you wouldn't be able to write the answer of these questions. What is the beauty of the book of Shekhar Bandyopadhyay? It actually touches all these dimensions, but then does not explain. It does not explain. So that's how actually you should read that particular book. If you have been reading that book, if you have been preparing by own, you have been reading you are reading that particular book, in that case I must say that you should get into you should have that wisdom whether it can be framed in a question or not. And if you find that it can be framed in a question, in that case you have to get the information, you have to gather the information on that. हाँ, इतनी wisdom तो होनी चाहिए कि आपको ये पता हो कि यार यहाँ से क्वेश्चन बन सकता है. और एक किताब तो कभी भी सोल्यूशन नहीं है. तो इसीलिए क्लासेस की इंपॉर्टेंस बहुत है. इनफैक्ट अगर आप मुझसे ये एक्सपेक्ट करेंगे कि मैं क्लासेस में हर चीज डिफाइन तरीके से नोट्स के फॉर्मेट में दे दूं आपको, दैट इज नॉट पॉसिबल. Because when we'll be discussing, trust me, 95% questions would be ultimately as such, which would be coming from the class itself. ठीक है, मतलब आप जितने भी नए आइडियाज भी पूछेंगे, that must be coming from the class itself. Maybe it's not there in a sort of dictated way, dictated notes में ऐसा नहीं, but then that must have been discussed and sufficient amount of content has been passed on to you, and that would be sufficient to write the answer. But then you have to have you have to listen the classes. You have to follow the classes very religiously and very regularly, and in fact in a very attentive way, because whatsoever we'd be discussing in the class, they all would be very important. And that because finishing modern India, let's say 30, 35 or 40 lectures, ठीक है, और of course it would require 40 lectures, because जिस तरीके से वो micro dimension में जा रहे हैं, या तो 40 lectures of 2.5 hours, और वी हैव टू इंक्रीज द टाइम, ठीक है, 3 घंटे, 3.5 घंटे, 4 घंटे, तो शायद जो है वो 30-32 लेक्चर्स में खत्म हो जाए. बट इसी तरीके से खत्म हो सकता है, क्योंकि इसमें माइक्रो डायमेंशंस पे वो जा रहे हैं. फाइन. सो दिस इज हाउ यू नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड द थिंग. नाउ वट एवर वी हैव डिस्कस, आई वुड लाइक टू मेक यू अंडरस्टैंड दैट विद द हेल्प ऑफ बेसिकली with the help of certain questions also. ठीक है, let's see certain questions of the PYQs basically that could help you to somehow understand it in a better way. Okay. Now this is the paper what you see here, ठीक है, and in fact there is one website where you can download everything, ठीक है. There is just one website, I'll show you. Okay, so this is the website, ठीक है. You can find all these papers, necessary documents over here. Or not, leave the NCERT, Krishna, ठीक है. After the classes you won't require anything, trust me, ठीक है. So okay, this is one website, ठीक है. This is historyoptional.co.in, ठीक है. अगर आप इस वेबसाइट पे खोलेंगे, so you'll find syllabus, you'll find previous year papers, toppers copy, all these necessary things are being provided over here. तो आपको इसको थोड़ा सा आप follow करते रहिएगा. And in fact, whenever some supplementary documents would be there ना, they would be provided here only, ठीक है. So they would be provided here only, so you'll find everything. In fact, the PYQs what I have opened, I'm just working little bit on it, and after that I'll get back to it, and I'll that also I'll upload over there only, okay. So as you can see that we have gone for this kind of paper distribution. So basically topic, and then after the topic, as you can see that topic wise, within that also there are subtopics, and the questions are uploaded as per that, okay. So basically one will will find that the recent questions have been highlighted with sometimes other colors, sometimes they have been simply highlighted, they had been made bold. So now if you'll see the paper, you can find that now that whatever we have discussed so far, that will like they are very much applicable. So I did tell you that now this first part, the European penetration in India, like the way they had been opening, basically the colonization of India, this part has become very important. Okay, there's one important dimensions I missed to discuss. That's also very important. ये last part है जो मैं discuss करूँगा, ठीक है? When you study modern India, along with these changes, there's another thing that you need to keep in mind. That's very, very, very important. And what is it? Like, what should be a general approach? Okay? General approach for studying the modern India. I always used to say when you study paper 1, at that point of time, you need to follow the vertical one, right? Matlab, there the chronological understanding is very important, and you need to make the interlinkages from one period or between one period to the next period, right? So this is one method which is quite applicable in paper 1, but the moment it comes to paper 2, like there this idea cannot be applied. Okay? In paper 2, like the approach should be what? Like the approach should be horizontal. The approach should be horizontal. Now, what is the meaning of horizontal studies, right? I have already told you that when it comes to when it comes to paper 2, roughly you have been studying the history of how many years? 300 years. आप जिस जो हिस्ट्री पढ़ते हैं वो कितने साल का होता है? 300 साल की हिस्ट्री होती है, वो 300 400 वर्ल्ड हिस्ट्री को भी हम कनेक्ट कर रहे हैं इस पे, तो 300 से लेकर 400 साल की हिस्ट्री आप पढ़ते हैं. जब आप यहाँ ये हिस्ट्री पढ़ते हैं ना, तो इट इज लाइक एट सेम टाइम एट वन हैंड यू हैव बीन रीडिंग लाइक सो लेट्स से 300 to 400 years, right? And this is the time when you read modern India at one hand, at the same time you have been reading the modern world, and it was desperately kept together. Why? Because if you believe that within modern India itself, like as you can see, there are several regions. I did tell you that as per the revisionist studies. So if you believe that they are not interconnected, this is wrong. They all are basically like interconnected. These are the various regions. Okay. On the other hand, like of course, modern world, again you can find the various parts. Okay. At one hand, Europe is there, USA is there, Southeast Asia is there, okay, and so on. So basically, even they are very much connected to this also. Why horizontal studies? Because ultimately whatever you study here, they all are interconnected to each other. And that's how I believe that here the approach that you need to follow should be the horizontal approach. Matlab, when you are reading, whenever you are reading any particular event from modern India, right? Any particular event from, let's say, modern India, you should also simultaneously think that what is going on in USA, what is going on in Europe at that point of time. I'm for sake of example, when you study the Deccan riots like happening in India, right? That was the period when civil war was concluded in America, and then you can find an interlinkages between the two. When you see the Anglo-Maratha war, at that point of time, you see the American War of Independence. It's connected to that. The various developments happening in India, they are well connected with the European developments. And in fact, you should know about it, you should think about it in this way, when there are certain changes happening in South, it was having certain connections with what? It was having certain connections with basically North India also, or northwestern part of India. So you have to develop this particular logic of connecting one part with the another. And that's how I say it horizontal, but then this approach would somehow make your answers more analytical, as you would be in a condition to make these interlinkages. So of course, while having the classes, we'll emphasize on that. We'll undoubtedly discuss a lot about that, and we'll keep it in our approach that we have to discuss about it. So that's something you need to keep in mind. So if you have this tendency, and then if you have understood understood it holistically, in that case, now I think you can see the question papers, because that's very important. And in fact, when it comes to the questions, let's say this is one question, this is the last year question only. Now, during the Carnatic Wars, the French position was at one time dazzled the Indian world, by its political success, was destined to end in humiliation and failure. So this is a something simple question, थोड़ा framing अलग तरीके से किया है, but to question. But इसी में मुझे लगता है कि once they have asked this question, now this is the question that was the question asked in 2024. Now this question, if you'll see, after the Battle of Plassey, the mercenaries became the kingmaker critically examined. Now this is the question which has been asked. Fine. Now normally when it comes to Plassey, fine, what kind of question you expect from the Palasi. In fact, if you'll go like the previous questions, in that case you'll find that the either the question had been asked on the significance of Palasi, or else the question was a sort of comparative question between Palasi and Buxar. Now that used to be the typical, they used to be the typical kind of questions. Now last to last year they asked a question कि after the battle of Palasi the mercenaries became the kingmakers critically examined. And in fact when it comes to this question, sometimes I have seen that most of the people were going for the wrong interpretation of this question. Mercenaries became the kingmaker. So basically now this is just one dimension of what Palasi, and they have framed a question. They have framed a question. Matlab, people might not have even imagined also that okay, the question can be framed in this way. Now, frankly speaking, if you believe that all such kind of things would be covered in the class specifically, that is not possible. But then definitely they would be coming into the discussion, right? They would be coming into the discussion ki how come, matlab, what sort of changes are coming after the battle of Palasi? This is just one change of the one change of that or out of that, and a question has been framed on the basis of that. Now, micro dimension. So until and unless your understanding is very sound that okay, this question is coming, so at least you are in a position to think about this question. कि आप सोचने में कैपेबल हैं कि अच्छा इसमें लिखना क्या है. तो अगर आप सोचने में कैपेबल है तो somehow you must be having the content to write it also. Don't worry. Okay, let's see some other questions. Take care. Okay, such as the seeds of domestic dissensions were thickly and deeply sown in the Maratha system under the Peshwas. Now, this is the question, right? Now, if you'll see any question, any question, unfortunately, you won't find that this question was ever being asked previously. Now, this question is more about the decline of the Marathas, but then again within the decline, it has been asking on just one dimension, and what is it? This is asking about the basically the domestic dissension, right? It is asking the question on domestic dissension. जो उनके internal conflicts है उसके बारे में, जिसको हम कहते हैं कि this is basically what? This is a sort of like a federal system. So Marathas were having a federal system, ठीक है? That was being argued by Jadunath Sarkar. So ये उसके ऊपर बेस जो है उन्होंने एक क्वेश्चन पूछा है. I was just discussing about this particular question. The Carnatic Wars, the Anglo-Maratha Wars and Anglo-Maratha virtually, the Carnatic Wars, the Anglo-Maratha, Anglo-Mysore War, right? The Carnatic Wars, the Anglo-Mysore Wars and the Anglo-Maratha Wars had virtually eliminated the French from the contest of supremacy. Now, the moment it comes to French, mostly you study the French with what? French with respect to basically the Carnatic Wars. But then how much they were very impactful even in the other eras also. Like maybe you are having some idea of Mysore, but then mostly people do not include it with the Marathas. But then I must tell you that even in the Marathas, right? Even in the case of Marathas, the French power has played a very significant role, right? And in fact, this was taken as an excuse for justifying the first Anglo-Maratha War. If you have read NCERT, in that case, you must be knowing that after that, a secret committee, after the first Anglo-Maratha War, a secret committee was formed by the British Parliament in order to inquire whether the reasons for this war was correct or not, because after a long war that continued from 1775 to 1782. So after a 7 years war, ultimately, what was the conclusion? Nothing. And in fact, both the parties had to sign an agreement. So the colonial powers, the British Parliament was literally annoyed कि if they had been fighting the wars unnecessarily, in that case, the colonial rule won't be able to establish itself ever in India. That's how they were very much frustrated out of it. Fine. So that's why this is a very important point. They have framed in form of question. Now, majority of the people have seen, they were very much confused about what? About basically this question. How come it can be related to the Marathas? Okay. The Sikh monarchy, right? The Sikh monarchy was Napoleonic in the suddenness of its rise, the brilliancy of its success, and the completeness of its overthrow, right? Now, this is what I had been discussing, that there should be a horizontal study. Undoubtedly, both of them were what? There are two different states, what you see, appearing in different period of time. And in fact, they are having certain commonness. ठीक है, एक बहुत पुराने author है, I'm just missing his name. He had been writing somewhere in 1849. There was a book written by him. I don't remember right now his name. जाहिर सी बात है, colonial author. उन्होंने एक comparison किया था. They have just picked up the statement from there and they have given you in the exam. But is it possible for us to रीड दोज बुक्स ऑल्सो, इम्पॉसिबल, असंभव, वो इम्पॉसिबल है। लेकिन यार हमारे पास वो विजडम होनी चाहिए कि इफ सच काइंड ऑफ क्वेश्चंस आर कमिंग, लाइक वी कैन मेक द कनेक्शन। अब now this is a world history topic, like and you cannot read it anywhere in a particular text, but then it has been asked in the question, and you don't have choice, you need to write the answer because it was asked as in the compulsory questions। तो आपको तो लिखना पड़ेगा, आपके पास चॉइस तो है नहीं। तो वहां पे आपकी अंडरस्टैंडिंग, बिकॉज इफ यू अंडरस्टैंड द राइज ऑफ नेपोलियन एंड यू अंडरस्टैंड द राइज ऑफ राइज ऑफ रंजीत सिंह, सो यू विल बी एबल टू मेक सम कनेक्शन। या हो सकता है कि आप इसको कनेक्ट करें या फिर आप उससे डिसएग्री करें, बोथ द पॉसिबिलिटीज आर देयर, बट देन इट इज देयर, लाइक ऑफ कोर्स इफ यू हैव अंडरस्टैंडिंग यू विल बी एबल टू डू इट, फाइन, ओके। Acts, maybe you can find that now they have started asking the questions from those acts. Earlier they were not asking very frequently, but then now they have started coming. Earlier they were focusing more on 1909, 19 and 35. Now they have started focusing even the acts which were coming earlier. Now look at this question also. Okay. Now this is the question. This is the question which is asking, do you agree that the idea of permanent fixation of the land revenue of 1793 in Bengal was highly influential by that physiocratic school of thinking? Now this is the question. This is framed in the question. Now if you'll read Sekhar Bandyopadhyay, you'll find just one line has been written. If you'll see my notes, right, either even of notes of 5 years back, you'll find that this idea has been properly explained. What is this physiocratic ideology? How did it evolve in France? What are the core ideas? ऐसा भी नहीं है मैं एकदम एक पन्ना डिक्टेट करा रहा हूँ physiocratic पे, but at least I have discussed 5 to 10 important points on the physiocratic ideology, and most importantly, how come this ideology was applicable in the better in the permanent settlement, that I have explained. Now what is it? It is just one idea or one factor due to what ultimately the permanent settlement was was implemented in India or in Bengal. Now they have just picked up this one statement in order to make it question. That's what I have been telling you, that this micro dimension is something which is pretty much needed. Fine. So this is how you can find that when it comes to this modern India, frankly, you can find that now they are getting into these kind of inner dimensions. And trust me, this is a question from the press. The tug of war between the two principles of freedom and the control of the press made its influence felt on the colonial rule attitude to the press. Discuss again last year's question, it was there, and 20 mark question, it was it was there. So until and unless you understand not only the press, that they know mostly when it comes to press, what do you read? You read basically the various various policies applied or let's say adopted by the colonial rule in order to suppress the press. यही पढ़ते हैं, लेकिन it is that question has been asked in a very ideological ground. So that's why when it comes to modern India, I must tell you that you have to be quite careful while studying the modern India. Trust me, by reading any book, it is next to impossible that you have been writing. You are in a position to write basically any of the answers, not any of the answers, but majority of the answers. And that's how, while reading modern India, number of sources must be incorporated together. And in fact, the analysis parts would be very strong. ठीक है, historians के नाम इतने important नहीं. मैंने बताया कि historians क्यों important है, because from where exactly the ideas are being picked up. So that you need to know, right? And in fact, you all you don't require to do all these kind of things, because I'm there to do all these kind of things for you. So you don't need to read so many things. What you need to do, you have to attend the classes very religiously. That's it. ठीक है, आप सिर्फ इतना कर लीजिए. And then I can promise to you that 90-95% questions which are coming in the examination, they could be answered very much from the class itself. So I hope some clarity is there about this modern India, that how to read it. And in fact, if you're having certain misconceptions for the modern India, don't go for it. Change your ideas, and then see the modern India in a very different way, and then try to prepare modern India with this perspective only. That would be my suggestion. And in fact, I'll follow the same approach. And that's how, just be very regular with the class, very attentive in the class. I told you it's not necessary that everything is there on the paper, but then I promise you everything would be discussed in the class. That's my commitment. So that's all for today. Till then, goodbye to everybody. Good day.